Chapter 1. Tai Zhu sat on the side of a small road in the village, and stared at the blue sky in a daze. Tai Zhu was not his real name. His father was afraid that he would not be able to survive, so he followed the customs and called him by his nickname. His real name was Wang Lin. The surname Wang was considered a common surname in the surrounding villages. His ancestors were carpenters, especially in the county. The Wang family was quite famous and owned several shops that specialized in selling wood products. Tai Zhu's father was the second son of a concubine. He could not take over the family's business, so he left the county after getting married and settled in this village. Because of his excellent carpentry skills, Tai Zhu's family could be considered well off. They did not have to worry about food and clothing. Even in the village, they were respected. Tai Zhu was extremely smart since he was young. He liked to read and had many ideas. He was recognized as a child prodigy in the village. Every time his father heard someone praise him, the wrinkles on his face would open up and he would reveal a happy smile. His mother was very concerned about him. It could be said that Tai Zhu had lived in the love of his parents since he was young. He knew that his parents had high expectations of him. Other children at his age would already be working in the fields, but he was still studying at home. The more he read, the more ideas he had. He was full of yearning for the world outside the village. Tai Zhu looked up at the end of the small road and sighed. He closed the book in his hand and got up to walk home. His father was sitting in the courtyard with a tobacco pipe in his hand. After taking a deep breath, he said to Tai Zhu, "Tai Zhu, how are your studies?" Tai Zhu replied with a few words. His father knocked on the tobacco pipe and got up. "Tai Zhu, you have to study well. Next year is the county's exam. Whether you will be successful in the future will depend on this exam. Don't be like me, staying in the village for the rest of my life." Sigh. "That's enough. You talk about it every day. In my opinion, our Tai Zhu will definitely pass the exam." Tai Zhu's mother placed the food on the table in the courtyard and called the father and son over to eat. Tai Zhu responded with an "oh." After sitting down, he randomly took a few bites. His mother lovingly looked at her son and picked up a few pieces of meat for him. "Father, will fourth uncle be here soon?" Tai Zhu raised his head and asked. Calculating the time, it should be in a few days. Your fourth uncle is more promising than your father. "Ai, my mother, have you prepared the mountain vegetables for fourth brother?" When his father mentioned fourth brother, his face revealed a regretful expression. His mother nodded and sighed. "Tai Zhu, your fourth uncle is a good person. Thanks to his help these past few years, your father's wood carvings can be sold for a good price. If you become successful in the future, don't forget to repay your fourth uncle." Just as he was speaking, the sound of horses came from outside the door, followed by the sound of a carriage rolling on the ground. A hearty voice sounded from outside. "Second brother, open the door." Tai Zhu was pleasantly surprised. He immediately ran over and opened the door to the courtyard. He saw a strong middle-aged man standing outside the door with bright eyes. When he saw Tai Zhu, he laughed and rubbed his head. "Tai Zhu, I haven't seen you for half a year, but you've grown taller again." Tai Zhu's parents quickly stood up. His father smiled and said, "Fourth brother, I've estimated the time. You should be here soon. Quickly come in. Tai Zhu, go get a stool for your fourth uncle." Tai Zhu happily answered and quickly ran back to the house. He took out a stool and placed it next to the dining table. He carefully wiped it with his sleeves and looked hopefully at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man winked at him and jokingly said, "Tai Zhu, why are you so diligent this time? I remember you weren't like this the last time I came." Tai Zhu's father glared at Tai Zhu and jokingly scolded, "This little bastard, he was just talking about whether or not you would be here soon." When the middle-aged man saw Tai Zhu's face turn red, he smiled and said, "Tai Zhu, your fourth uncle didn't forget what he promised you." After saying that, he took out 2 books and placed them on the table. Taiju excitedly cheered and picked up the book. He couldn't help but be happy. Taiju's mother kindly looked at her son and said to the middle-aged man, "Fourth brother, your brother always talks about you. This time you should stay for a few more days." The middle-aged man shook his head and said, "Sister-in-law, there are a lot of things to do in the family these days. I have to go back early tomorrow morning. When I'm done, I'll come back to see you." After saying that, he apologetically looked at his second brother. Taiju's father sighed and said, "Fourth brother, don't listen to your sister-in-law. Tomorrow, pack the goods. Family matters are the most important. We can meet again later." The middle-aged man looked at Taiju's father and said, "Second brother, Taiju is 15 this year, right?" Taiju's father nodded and said, "After the new year, this little bastard will be 16. In a flash, more than 10 years have passed. How fast!" As he said that, his eyes revealed a doting expression as he looked at his son. The middle-aged man pondered for a bit and said with a serious expression, "Second brother, sister-in-law, I have something to tell you. This year, the Hengyu sect is accepting disciples. The family has 3 recommendations, and I have one." Taiju's father was startled and said, "Hengyu sect? The Hengyu sect that is full of immortals?" The middle-aged man smiled and nodded. "Second brother, it is that immortal sect. Our family can be considered a prominent family nearby, so we have the qualifications to recommend. My son, you know, is not good at studying, but he is good at using swords and sabers. I don't think the immortals will accept my son, so this recommendation is very precious. I see that Taiju has been smart since he was young and likes to study." Taiju's mother was overjoyed and quickly said, "Fourth brother, this. The middle-aged man rubbed Taiju's head and said, "Second brother, sister-in-law, I think this matter is settled. Let Taiju try. If he really is accepted, then it is his good fortune." Taiju looked at his parents and fourth uncle in confusion. He didn't understand what they were talking about. Immortals? What are immortals? Taiju hesitated for a bit and softly asked. The middle-aged man's expression was serious. He looked at Taiju and said, "Taiju, immortals can fly in the sky. Each of them is powerful and is not something we mortals can understand." While Taiju was confused, he became curious about immortals. Taiju's father excitedly stood up and pulled Taiju's mother to bow to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man quickly helped them up and sincerely said, "Second brother, what are you doing? My mother died early. If it wasn't for second mother taking care of me when I was a child, I wouldn't be where I am today. Taiju is my nephew, so this is what I should do." Taiju's father was moved to tears. He heavily patted the middle-aged man and nodded. Then, he sternly said to Taiju, "Wang Lin, remember, no matter what happens in the future, don't forget your fourth uncle's kindness to our family. Otherwise, I won't have you as my son." Taiju's heart trembled. Although he was still ignorant about immortals, he could tell from his parents' expressions that they attached great importance to this matter. So, he knelt in front of his fourth uncle and heavily kowtowed a few times. The middle-aged man pulled Taiju up and praised, "Good child, pack up for a few days. I will pick you up at the end of the month." That night, Taiju went to bed early. He could still hear the voices of his father and fourth uncle in the courtyard. His father was very happy today. He rarely drank, but no matter what, he had to drink a few cups with his fourth uncle. Immortals? What is it? Taiju was very excited. His young mind vaguely knew that this was an opportunity for him to go to the outside world. The next morning, fourth uncle left. Taiju's parents walked him to the entrance of the village. On the way back, Taiju could clearly see that his father seemed to have become much younger. His eyes were filled with hope as he looked at him. This kind of expectation was much stronger than when he was asked to go to the county exam. There were no secrets in this small mountain village. Even if a dog gave birth to a few puppies, the news would spread throughout the village in an instant. Soon, everyone in the village heard the news from Tai Ju's mother and came to visit. Everyone looked at Tai Ju with different expressions: envy, jealousy. The Wang family gave birth to a good child. He was accepted as a disciple by the Hengyu sect. I watched Tai Ju grow up. This child has been smart since he was young. Now that he has become a disciple of the Hengyu sect, he will definitely have a bright future. If Tai Ju has the ability, don't forget about our village in the future. Come back more often. These kinds of words entered Tai Ju's ears. Gradually, it became as if he had already become a disciple of the Hengyu sect. Every time his parents heard this, they couldn't stop smiling. The wrinkles on their faces seemed to have lessened a lot. Every time Tai Ju walked alone in the village, all the villagers who saw him would enthusiastically pull him aside and ask him questions. Some people even used Tai Ju as a role model in front of their children and lectured him. Half a month quickly passed. The news of Tai Ju becoming a disciple of the Hengyu sect quickly spread. The villagers in the surrounding villages all came to congratulate him. Their main purpose was to see Tai Ju. When everyone came, they would prepare a gift. Tai Ju's parents couldn't refuse, so they accepted it. However, when these people left, they would prepare a generous gift for them. According to Tai Ju's father, their child would be a high and mighty immortal in the future. They couldn't let him owe so many favors. All the villagers who came to visit, they would give them a gift in return. At this time, the members of the Wang family gradually learned that their fourth child had given his spot to Tai Ju, so they all came to congratulate him. Tai Ju's father attached great importance to his own family members. Many of these people used to look down on him, and some even forced him out of the family many years ago. Now that these people came to his home one by one, he felt as if all of his years of grievance had been swept away. He discussed with Tai Ju's mother and decided to properly entertain them. Thus, they spent a lot of money to ask the village teacher to write an invitation and send it to the family. The teacher didn't accept any money. He only asked Tai Ju to admit that he had been studying here since he was young. Tai Ju didn't have anything to say about this. This was the truth. After the invitation was sent, most of the relatives of the Wang family came to celebrate. Because there were too many people, Tai Ju's father chose the square in the center of the village and set up hundreds of banquet tables. The villagers helped to entertain the guests. When they talked to each other, they all praised Tai Ju endlessly. As for Tai Ju's father, he personally brought his wife and child to the village entrance to greet them and introduce them to Tai Ju. Tai Ju's father supported a white-haired old man and said to Wang Lin, "This is your third grandfather. When I left the family, your third grandfather secretly helped me a lot. Tai Ju, you must remember to repay him in the future." Tai Ju's father looked at Tai Ju and said with emotion, "Second brother, time really flies. Your child is already so big. You are a good child, more promising than you." Tai Ju's father's face was flushed and he said with a smile, "Third grandfather, Tai Ju has been smart since he was young. He is definitely better than me. Please walk slowly. My son's mother, help third grandfather over." Tai Ju's mother quickly came forward and helped the old man to the banquet table. After seeing the old man leave, Tai Ju's father snorted and said to Tai Ju, "This old man looked down on your father and forced me to leave. Now that you've grown up, he's here to congratulate you. Ah, this is how relatives work." Tai Ju nodded in confusion and asked, "Father, is fourth uncle coming today?" Tai Ju's father shook his head and said, "Your fourth uncle sent a letter saying that he is outside and can't come back. He will come back at the end of the month to pick you up." At this time, another carriage came and stopped at the village entrance. An old man in his 50s walked out and looked at Tai Ju's father. He sighed and said, "Second brother, congratulations." Tai Ju's father's expression was complicated. After a long time, he said, "Big brother." The old man's eyes swept over Tai Ju and smiled. "Second brother, this is your child. Not bad, maybe he will be chosen this time." Taiju's father frowned and then relaxed. He said, Taiju doesn't have any good points, but he is smart and willing to study. This time, he will definitely be chosen. That's not necessarily true. Immortal sects have very strict requirements for accepting disciples. They pay attention to whether or not they have an immortal affinity. I see that this child is a fool. Even if he goes, it will be useless. An arrogant voice leisurely came and a 16-year-old boy walked down from the carriage. The boy was handsome with sword-like eyebrows and a jade-like face. His eyes revealed a look of contempt. Taiju's father glared at him while Wang Lin gave him a deep look. He didn't say anything. The old man's expression became serious and shouted, Wang Zhuo, how can you be so rude? This is your second uncle, and this is your little brother, Wang Lin. Hurry up and greet them. Then he said to Taiju's father, My son's words are unpleasant to hear. Second brother, don't mind him, but… Then he changed the topic and said, But second brother, the immortal accepting a disciple is not a simple matter. It depends on fate. This time, the Hengyu sect's high immortal Dao Su took a liking to my son, so he was interested in my Wang family and gave me 3 spots. Taiju's father snorted and said, Since your child can do it, then my child will definitely be chosen. The boy sneered and didn't care about the old man's scolding. He contemptuously said, You are my second uncle, right? I advise you not to think too highly of it. Although it is not said that a cultivator's body is 1 in 10,000, it is close. This silly boy can't compare to this young master. This young master is the disciple of the immortal master, how can he compare? The old man's face flashed with pride. He scolded a few more words, then cupped his hands towards Taiju's father and brought the boy to the banquet. Taiju's father held in his anger for a long time before he slowly relaxed and said, Taiju, don't feel pressured. If you really don't get chosen, it doesn't matter. Next year, you can still go to the county's exam. Wang Lin's eyes were firm as he whispered, Dad, don't worry, I will definitely be chosen. Taiju's father gently patted his son's shoulder with a look of expectation. After welcoming many more relatives, Taiju's father finally brought him back to the banquet. At this time, the seats were full of friends and the scene was bustling with people celebrating. Taiju's father loudly said, My relatives and fellow villagers, I, Wang Tianshui, am not very cultured and don't know how to say any words, but today I am very happy. My child has the opportunity to be chosen by the Hengyu sect. This is the happiest thing in my life. I won't say too much, but thank you all for coming here to congratulate me. Thank you. Second brother, your child has been smart since he was young. He will definitely be chosen and become an immortal like Wang Zhuo. Second brother, you have a child like Taiju. This life is not a waste. In the future, just wait to enjoy happiness. Taiju, fight for your father. This time, no matter what, you must enter the Hengyu sect. For a moment, the scene was very lively, and sounds of celebration could be heard everywhere. However, there were also many people who were secretly watching the show, such as Wang Zhuo's father. On the surface, he congratulated Taiju, but in his heart, he had always looked down on his second brother, and this was even more so for his child. He looked at his son, and then at Taiju. In his heart, he was quite disapproving. Although his fourth brother giving up his spot this time was beyond his expectations, as long as those immortals were not blind, they would not choose Taiju. Everyone here could see the various forms of life. Taiju's father pulled Taiju to each table to toast, introducing him to unfamiliar relatives one by one. On this day, Taiju's father drank a lot of wine. He had never been so honored before. It wasn't until late that the relatives left one after another. Before leaving, the young Wang Zhuo still had that look of disdain on his face. When no one was paying attention, he whispered in Taiju's ear, Silly boy, you won't be chosen. You don't have the talent. After saying that, he smiled contemptuously and left with his father. Back home, Taiju laid on his bed. He secretly decided that no matter what, he had to be chosen. Half a month quickly passed. On this day, Taiju's fourth uncle arrived in a carriage. Taiju's parents quickly welcomed him into the room. The middle-aged man washed his face and hurriedly said, "Second brother, second sister-in-law, this time we can't stay for long. I'll pick up Taiju and leave immediately. Tomorrow morning, the Hengyu sect will come to pick him up." Taiju's father was startled. His face revealed a trace of reluctance, and he decisively said, "Okay, Taiju, go with your fourth uncle. If you are chosen, then stay at the Hengyu sect. If you are not chosen, don't have any burdens and come home." Taiju looked at his parents reluctantly and nodded. His mother took out a package from the room and lovingly said, "Taiju, when you go out, you have to listen to fourth uncle. Don't cause trouble. Outside is not like home, you have to be patient. Mother has prepared a few new clothes for you, as well as your favorite roasted sweet potatoes. Mother will miss you. If you are not chosen, then come home." As Taiju's mother spoke, tears flowed down her face. Taiju had never left the village since he was a child. This was the first time he had left. On the side, fourth uncle sighed and said, "Taiju, fight for your parents. You must be chosen. Second brother, second sister-in-law, the family will have a large celebration in a few days. It's a bit urgent today, so I'll come pick you up tomorrow. The 3 children recommended by the family will have results at that time." After saying that, he pulled Taiju into the carriage, whipped the horse, and left. Taiju's parents watched the quickly disappearing carriage with tears streaming down their faces. Taiju's father, "Taiju has never left our side before. Will he be bullied this time?" Taiju's mother bit her lower lip, her eyes filled with reluctance. "The children have grown up and will have their own fortune." Taiju's father picked up his tobacco pipe and took a deep breath. The wrinkles on his face suddenly increased. "Brother, don't forget to collect it." Chapter 2. There's still one more night watch at noon. The carriage sped along the small road. Wang Lin's body swayed along with the potholes on the ground. He held the bundle in his arms, his heart was in turmoil. With his parents' expectations for him, he left the mountain village where he had lived for 15 years. The distance from here to the county town was not a short distance. Wang Lin gradually fell asleep. After an unknown period of time, he was gently pushed by someone. He opened his eyes and saw fourth uncle looking at him with a smile and jokingly said, "Taiju, this is the first time you've left home, what are your thoughts?" Wang Lin noticed that the carriage had stopped, smiled foolishly and said, "Nothing much, just a little scared. I don't know if I can be accepted by an immortal." Fourth uncle laughed, patted Taiju on the shoulder and said, "Okay, don't think too much. We've arrived, this is fourth uncle's house. You go rest first, I'll take you to your family in the morning." After getting off the carriage, in front of Wang Lin was a tiled house. Fourth uncle came to a room. Wang Lin sat on the bed, but he did not feel sleepy. His mind flashed with the words of his parents, fellow villagers and relatives. He sighed in his heart, and the idea of being accepted as an immortal's disciple became even stronger. Time passed, and before long, the sky was bright and the sun gradually rose. Although Wang Lin did not rest all night, he was still full of energy. With a trace of nervousness, he followed fourth uncle to the Wang family's mansion. This was the first time Wang Lin had seen such a big house. He was dazzled. Fourth uncle sighed as he walked. "Taiju, this time you must make your father proud, don't let the relatives laugh at you." Wang Lin was even more nervous. He bit his lower lip and nodded. Not long after, fourth uncle led him to the big courtyard in the middle of the mansion. Tieju's father's elder brother, the old man, was standing in the courtyard. After seeing Taiju, he nodded and said, "Taiju, when the immortal comes, don't make a fuss. Everything you do, just follow your brother Wang Zhua. Whatever he does, you do understand." The last few words were spoken in a stern tone. Wang Lin was silent. He looked around and found that other than Wang Zhuo, there was another young man. The young man's skin was slightly dark, and his eyes revealed a trace of intelligence. His clothes were bulging, as if he was carrying something. When he saw Tai Zhu looking at him, he made a face at him and ran over to ask, "You must be second uncle's brother Tai Zhu." "My name is Wang Hao." Wang Lin chuckled and nodded. Seeing that Tai Zhu was ignoring him, the old man felt slightly annoyed and was about to reprimand him. At this moment, the clouds in the sky suddenly fluttered as a sword light pierced through the air like a bolt of lightning. After the sword light dissipated, a young man in white appeared on the ground. This young man's eyes were bright and full of expression, exuding an extraordinary and elegant temperament. His expression was cold as his eyes swept over the three youths, especially the bulge on the clever youth's body. He coldly said, "The three spots of the Wang clan, are they them? This is an immortal?" With just one glance, Wang Lin felt his body go cold. His heart couldn't stop beating and his face was pale as he stared blankly at the old man. Then he looked at the clever youth. His hands were also placed on his trousers. He was very respectful and his eyes were filled with fanaticism. Only Wang Zhuo glanced at him nonchalantly and let out a soft snort. Wang Zhuo's father quickly came forward with a respectful expression and said, "Supreme Immortal, these three people are the people recommended by the Wang clan." The young man nodded and impatiently asked, "Who is Wang Zhuo?" The old man's face lit up and he quickly pulled Wang Zhuo and said, "Supreme Immortal, this is my son, Wang Zhuo." The young man looked deeply at Wang Zhuo. His expression slightly relaxed as he nodded and said, "Junior brother Wang is indeed talented. No wonder martial Uncle Dao Su took a fancy to you." Wang Zhuo proudly looked at Tai Zhu and the clever youth and proudly said, "That's natural. This young master's cultivation spirit root has been praised by immortal Dao Su." The young man frowned, but he quickly relaxed and looked at Wang Zhuo with a smile that wasn't a smile. He waved his sleeves and took the three youths on a cloud and disappeared. Fourth uncle looked up at the sky and muttered to himself, "Tai Zhu, you must be chosen." Wang Lin felt his body lighten and the strong wind hurt his face. He looked carefully and was immediately shocked to find that he was being held under the arm of the young man. The village on the ground turned into palm-sized black dots that quickly moved backward. In just a short while, his eyes were already red from the wind and tears flowed down. "If the three of you don't want to go blind, then close your eyes." The young man's cold voice came. Wang Lin's heart trembled and he quickly closed his eyes. He didn't dare to look anymore. His yearning for cultivation became even stronger. Not long after, Wang Lin could feel that the young man was out of breath and his speed had clearly decreased. Then, his vision blurred and the young man quickly fell. The moment he landed, the young man loosened his arm and the three youths fell to the ground. Fortunately, the fall wasn't heavy. The three of them quickly got up. In front of Wang Lin was a paradise. There were green mountains and clear waters. There were birds and the fragrance of flowers. In front of them was a mountain peak that pierced through the clouds. Thousands of rocks competed with each other. Clouds and mist surrounded it, making it difficult to see its appearance. Occasionally, one or two beast cries could be heard. There was a twisted stone path winding down from the mountain peak. It was like a scene from a painting. The mountains were beautiful and the water was clear. There was a feeling of being separated from the world. Looking up from a distance, there was a large hall at the top of the mountain. Although it was covered by clouds, there were bursts of seven-colored light that made people want to worship it. Next to the hall, there was a long stone bridge that was like a crescent moon. It extended into the clouds and connected to another mountain peak. Such a paradise was naturally the location of the Hengyu sect. The Hengyu sect was one of the few cultivation sects in the country of Zhao. 500 years ago, it once ruled the entire cultivation world of the country of Zhao. It had several nascent soul-old monsters and was extremely glorious. Unfortunately, as time passed, there were many changes. Today, the once great sect had shrunk to the point where it could barely stand firm in the cultivation world. But even so, the Hengyu sect was still out of reach for the mortals within thousands of miles. Junior brother Zhang, are these 3 youths recommended by the Wang family? A black-clothed middle-aged man floated over from the foot of the mountain with a trace of the air of an immortal. The young man's face revealed a respectful expression and said, "Third senior brother, these 3 people are indeed recommended by the Wang family." The middle-aged man's eyes swept over and focused on Wang Zhuo. He smiled and said, "The sect head knows that you have reached a critical point in your cultivation, so he let me conduct the test. You go cultivate." The young man nodded and his body moved. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace along the mountain path. Wang Lin stared blankly at the scene in front of him. His heart was filled with excitement. Suddenly, he felt someone pull his clothes. He turned his head and saw that it was the quick-witted young man. The young man's eyes became even more fanatical and he whispered, "This is where the immortals live. Damn, no matter what, I, Wang Hao, will be chosen." After he finished speaking, he touched the bulging thing inside his clothes. Chapter 3. Today's second chapter is over. There will be another chapter in the afternoon. Wang Zhuo was also stunned by the scene in front of him. It took him a long time to recover. The arrogance in his heart had subdued a lot. At this time, a few more rainbow swords appeared. After each sword light dissipated, a Hengyu sect disciple would appear. Beside them, without exception, were a few 15 to 16-year-old youths. There were both men and women. The moment they landed, they were all like Wang Lin's group. They stared blankly at the scene in front of them with different expressions on their faces. The Hengyu sect disciples that brought everyone here stood not far away, talking to each other and looking at these youths. After waiting for a while, all the youths that had been recommended had arrived. At this time, the black-clothed middle-aged man glanced at the crowd and said without any emotion, "Among you, only a few will be selected to become my Hengyu sect disciples." All of the youths were scared out of their wits. Wang Lin was very nervous. He counted a total of 48 people. Cultivation, the first test is talent. The next test is to see if your spirit roots are sufficient. Now, whoever I call, come forward. The middle-aged man was expressionless as he casually pointed at a youth. The youth's legs trembled as he carefully walked forward. The middle-aged man placed his hand on the youth's head and said, "Not qualified. Stand on the left." The youth seemed to have lost all his strength. His expression was bleak as he walked to the left without saying a word. Then another youth was pointed at and nervously walked forward. "Not qualified. Not qualified. Not qualified." More than 10 people in a row were all not qualified. Until now, there was not a single person on the right of the middle-aged man. Wang Zhuo was pointed at. The arrogance on his face disappeared and his face was pale as he walked forward. After the middle-aged man placed his hand on Wang Zhuo's head, he suddenly revealed a happy expression and said in a gentle tone, "What is your name?" Wang Zhuo quickly respectfully said, "Reporting to Supreme Immortal, this junior is Wang Zhuo." The middle-aged man nodded and smiled. "So you are the Wang Zhuo that martial Uncle Daoshi mentioned. And stand on the right." Wang Zhuo was overjoyed. Under everyone's envious gaze, he walked to the right. His eyes were filled with arrogance as he looked at everyone with contempt. Wang Hao curled his lips and said to Wang Lin in a low voice, "Damn it, he really got lucky." Wang Lin became even more nervous. His parents' expectant gaze appeared in his mind, and he clenched his fists. "Not bad, you also go to the right side and stand properly." The middle-aged man's pleasantly surprised voice sounded. In front of him was a young girl. It didn't take long for most of the youths to be tested. However, there were only 2 people standing to the right of the middle-aged man. Next, Wang Hao was chosen. Wang Hao jogged along until he was in front of the middle-aged man. Without waiting for him to be tested, Wang Hao immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed a few times. He shouted, "Upper Immortal, enjoy immortal happiness forever, and live as long as the heavens." Little Wang Hao, testing so many people must be very tiring. Why don't you take a break? I'm not in a hurry. It's fine. The middle-aged man laughed involuntarily. He had tested so many people, and all of them had a nervous look on their faces. Only this young man in front of him looked like a tiger and was the smartest. He even started to flatter the middle-aged man. He pressed his hand on Wang Hao's forehead and shook his head. "My talent is a bit lacking, no." When Wang Hao heard that his talent was lacking, his heart immediately fell to the bottom. Before the middle-aged man finished speaking, he immediately took out a jade box, handed it over with both hands, and cleverly said, "Upper Immortal, my father found this in the mountains by chance. He tried many times but couldn't open it, so I brought it from home to give to Upper Immortal." The middle-aged man shook his head and was about to refuse, but when his eyes swept over the jade box, his pupils suddenly shrank. He grabbed it and carefully looked at it. His face immediately lit up and he said, "Not bad, it's actually a 300-year-old Lingji mushroom. Looking at this jade box, it should have been sealed by a cultivator. No wonder your father couldn't open it." He paused for a moment, then smiled and said, "I'm lacking an apprentice alchemist by my side. I see that you're quite clever, are you willing to be my apprentice?" Wang Hao was immediately pleasantly surprised. The ups and downs made him extremely excited. He loudly said, "Yes, Upper Immortal, I'm willing." The middle-aged man nodded with a smile and said, "If you become my alchemist, I won't mistreat you. You can practice the sex celestial spells like the other disciples. You can stand on the right side." Wang Hao was very excited. He ran to the right side and proudly stared at Wang Zhuo. All of the losers had fake expressions on their faces. They were all dejected, and some of them even had tears streaming down their faces. The middle-aged man frowned and shouted, "Those who are crying, send them away." A few of the Huangyu sect disciples standing not far away immediately walked out and grabbed a few people who were crying. They casually stepped on their swords and quickly disappeared. The middle-aged man casually pointed at Wang Lin. Wang Lin took a deep breath and nervously walked next to the middle-aged man. His mind was blank as he silently prayed in his heart. He couldn't help but think of his parents' hopeful eyes. "I will definitely be chosen," Wang Lin firmly thought. The middle-aged man expressionlessly said 3 words that made Wang Lin feel like he had fallen into an ice cave. "Not qualified." Wang Lin didn't know how he arrived at the left side of the line. He only felt as if his ears had been struck by thunder. His ears were filled with those 3 words. Not long after, everyone was tested. There were only 3 people standing on the right side. In the eyes of the losers, these 3 people were like heaven's proud sons and daughters. Wang Zhuo looked at Wang Lin with disdain. There was no doubt in his eyes that he was mocking him. Although talent is important in cultivation, perseverance is even more important. You youths with ordinary talent, if you have perseverance, you can also become honorary disciples. The second test is perseverance. The middle-aged man's face was expressionless. He paused for a moment and then said, "Follow these steps up. Those who reach the top are qualified. If you still can't complete it by the 3rd day, you will fail. The losers will be sent back to your respective families. If you can't hold on halfway or encounter danger, loudly shout, 'Give up,' and someone will come to take you away." After he finished speaking, the middle-aged man smiled at the 3 people on the right and said, "You guys come with me to see the sect head. When the time comes, he will arrange for your teacher. Wang Hao, you don't need to go. Come with me to the alchemy room and familiarize yourself with it." After the middle-aged man finished speaking, he took the 3 geniuses up the mountain and disappeared. Wang Lin took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with determination. Without hesitation, he walked up the stone steps and began the second test, perseverance. Excluding the 3 geniuses and the 6 youths who were sent away because they were crying, there were 39 people left. Among these 39 people, there were those who were dejected, those who were determined, and even those who were afraid. All of them gradually stepped onto the steps and walked out of their own futures. Chapter 4. It's already midnight, please collect. The stone steps were steep and uneven, and there were many dangers on both sides. If one wasn't careful, they would fall. After walking for less than half a day, Wang Lin felt like his legs were filled with lead. He was sweating profusely and out of breath, finding it difficult to move forward. When he was at the foot of the mountain, this stone path wasn't long, but now that he was walking on it, he found that this path seemed to have no end. It made him feel despair from the bottom of his heart. In front of him, there were a dozen or so strong youths. They were all panting as they slowly climbed up. Up until now, none of them had given up. Wang Lin clenched his teeth and persevered. He knew this was his last chance. His parents' hopeful eyes lingered in his heart. At this moment, a youth behind him suddenly stepped on empty air. His body quickly fell from the side and screamed in fear. "I give up! Help!" Everyone stopped and looked down at the same time. They saw a flash of black light and a Hing sect disciple appeared out of nowhere. He grabbed the youth in midair and gently landed at the foot of the mountain. Wang Lin's face was pale. He remained silent and carefully continued to climb up. Time quickly passed. 2 days later, he could no longer see the figures of the youths in front of him. Wang Lin didn't know how many of his companions had given up. He only knew that he absolutely couldn't give up. Even though his legs and feet were covered in blisters and the piercing pain was coming from the blisters, he still persisted in using his hands to climb up. The hearts of the young are firm, but the great Tao is merciless. It's all in vain, it's all in vain. A drawn-out sigh drifted down from the peak of the mountain in the distance. A middle-aged man with a sallow complexion gently floated down from the stone steps and swiftly walked past the young men. His face was filled with emotion. When he passed by Wang Lin, the middle-aged man paused for a moment. This was the 6th youth he had seen, but he was definitely the most miserable one. His body was covered in blood and his clothes were soaked in blood. His knees and toes were badly mangled. He had to use his hands to climb up bit by bit. The middle-aged man sighed and asked, "Child, what is your name?" Wang Lin's expression was hazy. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to climb to the top of the mountain even if he died. He didn't hear the middle-aged man's question. In his eyes, besides the stone steps, there was nothing else. The middle-aged man stared at Wang Lin's eyes and was quite moved by his determination. He pressed his hand on Wang Lin's head and shook his head. He said to himself, "Excellent willpower, but unfortunately, your talent is too ordinary. Not fated, not fated." He looked deeply at Wang Lin and continued to walk down the stone step. On the second night, Wang Lin's hands were badly mangled. There was a deep blood stain on the stone steps he climbed. Wang Lin didn't know any of this. Right now, he was relying on his will to move his body, and his breathing was reaching its limit. When the sun rose on the 3rd day, he vaguely saw the end of the stone step. Unfortunately, at this moment, a merciless voice came like thunder, shaking his heart. "Time is up. Only 3 people passed. The rest failed." Wang Lin smiled bitterly. His body tilted and he fell on the stone steps, unconscious. The black-clothed middle-aged man, who had tested his talent 3 days ago, stood at the top of the mountain and looked at Wang Lin, who was less than 10 feet away. His eyes revealed a merciless expression. At this time, a few Hing sect disciples quickly walked down from the top of the mountain. Along the way, they brought all the youths who were still persisting to the top of the mountain and fed them medicine. A female Heng Yu sect disciple coldly reported, "Senior brother, out of the 39 testers, 25 people have given up. Other than the 3 who passed, there are still 11 people left," a female Heng Yu sect disciple coldly reported. She had experienced such a cruel test before. In the end, she relied on her foundation of martial arts since she was a child and barely passed in terms of willpower to become an honorary disciple. After nearly 10 years of hard work, she still hadn't become a true disciple. The black-clothed middle-aged man's expression was cold. He nodded slightly and looked at the 11 unconscious youth. He lightly said, "The 3 who passed, take them to the chore office and arrange their work for the rest of the day. The 25 who gave up, send them back to their respective families. As for the last 11 people, after they wake up, send them to the Sword Spirit Pavilion to see if there is anyone who is fated with the Sword Spirit. If there isn't, send them back to their respective families." After he finished speaking, the middle-aged man didn't even look at the youths and walked away. 3 days later, inside the Sword Spirit Pavilion, the 11 youths, including Wang Lin, all stood to the side with pale faces. Wang Lin's injuries had already healed, but the wound in his heart was even bigger. Bursts of heart-wrenching pain couldn't stop devouring his body and mind. This sword spirit test wasn't conducted by the black-clothed middle-aged man, but by an unfamiliar youth in white. However, without exception, his face was cold. He looked at the youths as if they were ants, ruthless and indifferent. "This is the final test. Those who can walk into this room pass." The youth's words were short and simple, and his face was filled with impatience. Wang Lin's gaze landed on an extremely ordinary house. The door in the middle of the house was open. Looking inside, he saw many ancient swords of different lengths placed inside. The youths walked into the room one by one in order. The first youth had just walked 5 feet into the room when he showed a struggling expression and was pushed back a few feet by an invisible force. "Unqualified." "Next," the youth said lightly. Wang Lin was the 7. The previous 6 were all unable to move forward after 5 feet. He smiled bitterly and walked forward with what little hope he had left in his heart. He walked past 5 feet easily. Wang Lin was stunned. The hope in his heart rose rapidly. His mouth was dry and his heart was beating wildly. He continued to walk another 10 feet, but he still didn't feel any discomfort. The youth's eyes flashed and revealed a look of interest. His expression softened and he said, "Don't hesitate. Continue walking. If you can walk into the room and get the sword spirit's approval, even if you didn't pass the previous 2 tests, you will still be accepted as a true disciple." The other 10 youths all looked envious. In this envy there was also a deep sense of jealousy. Wang Lin was nervous. His parents' expectant gazes appeared in his mind again. He took another 10 feet forward and was only 10 feet away from the door. Wang Lin nervously took another step forward. At this moment, a huge force suddenly appeared and crazily rushed towards Wang Lin. His body flew back uncontrollably and only stopped when he was more than 10 feet away. The other youths standing to the side all looked at Wang Lin with disdain. In their opinion, Wang Lin should be the same as them. There was no chance for him to pass. Wang Lin bitterly smiled. The wound in his heart became even bigger. The expectant gazes of his parents gradually disappeared from his mind. The youth's expression was as cold as before. He said lightly, "Unqualified." Next. Chapter 5. Today was the first night watch, and there would be more at noon. Of the 11 people, not a single one passed. Aside from Wang Lin, there was also a young girl who reached the 20-foot mark, but the result was the same. After the test, the youths were sent down the mountain and sent away by the Heng Yu sect disciples. The one who sent Wang Lin back to the clan was the youth surnamed Zhang, who brought them here. Beside him was Wang Zhua and Wang Hao. The youth smiled and cupped his hands. "Junior brother Wang Zhua, Congratulations on becoming Marshal Uncle Dao Su's disciple. Your future is limitless. Wang Zhu's face revealed an arrogant expression and proudly said, "Of course. Master has already said that after I go home and take care of the mundane matters, he will teach me cultivation spells." Wang Hao curled his lips and said, "Ever since I was young, I've never liked that expression of yours. Isn't it just having a master? What's the big deal? This young master can also refine pills." Wang Zhu looked at Wang Hao with contempt and ignored him. Instead, he looked at the silent Wang Lin and smiled. "Taizhu, how is it? I told you before that you didn't have the talent, but you and your father didn't believe me. Now you know the result." Wang Lin raised his head and looked at Wang Zhu. He said to the Heng Yu sect youth, "Supreme Immortal, my parents are waiting for me. Please send me back quickly." Wang Zhu saw that Wang Lin was ignoring him and sneered again. "Country bumpkin, stay in the village and be a carpenter like your father for the rest of your life." The youth revealed a smile that wasn't a smile. He looked at the three youths in front of him and didn't say anything. He waved his sleeves and disappeared from the Heng Yu sect. On the way back, the wind was still strong, but Wang Lin's mood was like heaven and earth. When he arrived, he was filled with hope, but when he returned, he was filled with despair. Not long after, the Wang clan's mansion came into view. Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked into the distance. He saw that the mansion was filled with people and was very lively. The banquet tables far surpassed the banquet his father had hosted a few days ago. The entire courtyard was filled with food. Everyone in the Wang clan, even those who were out purchasing wood, had returned. They gathered together to celebrate, toasting each other and bustling with activity. The main characters of this banquet were three people: Wang Tianshui's big brother, Wang Tianshui, and his third brother. Beside these three people, all of the relatives went up to celebrate, and the scene was extraordinarily lively. Without exception, all of their eyes revealed expressions of envy, and their mouths even flattered Wang Lin. Especially towards Wang Lin's father, they even sighed endlessly and sighed about the past. "Second brother, this time your son will definitely be chosen. In the future, you don't need to work as a carpenter anymore. Everyone in the family will call you second master when they see you." Wang Lin's father's sixth brother, a middle-aged man with a big belly, loudly praised. Wang Tianshui's fifth uncle squinted his small eyes as he sat next to Wang Lin's father and raised his cup to flatter. "Second brother, back then I could tell that you definitely wouldn't be ordinary in this life. What do you think? I was right? You are destined for Taizhu in this life. Now that Taizhu has become an immortal, as his father, you will be amazing. Second brother, your family's Taizhu and my son will both be chosen this time. We haven't seen each other in more than 10 years. This time, no matter what, we won't go home until we're drunk." Wang Hao's father, Wang Tianshui's third brother, walked up to them with a cup of wine in his hand. Taizhu's father looked around at his relatives who had looked down on him before. He felt very proud and elated, and the many years of gloominess were swept away. However, there was still a large stone weighing down on his heart. "Taizhu, you must be chosen. Second sister-in-law, following my second brother can be considered a blessing. With Taizhu as your son, in the future, who in our surrounding villages won't know you?" "That's right, second sister-in-law, your son is more capable than my son. Taizhu has been smart since he was young. He is truly a good child." Taizhu's mother, "Although we are of the same clan, there are many marriages between people of the same clan. My daughter is also of age, and Taizhu has a dignified appearance. I have liked him since he was young. Why don't our two families become in-laws?" Like Taizhu's father, Taizhu's mother was also surrounded by a group of women who warmly chatted about their daily lives in the countryside. Taizhu's eldest brother coldly watched all of this. He thought to himself, "Just wait. When the immortals send the child back, we will know the result. If Taizhu isn't chosen, I'll see how you deal with this." Thinking of this, he laughed heartily, raised his glass, and said a few words to the relative who was praising his child. The scene was bustling and lively. Just at this moment, a rainbow suddenly flew across the sky and landed in the courtyard, revealing 4 people. The surroundings instantly quieted down. All of the Wang family members were trembling and didn't dare to speak. The Hengyu sect youth looked around and secretly sighed. When he was accepted as a disciple of the Hengyu sect, his hometown also celebrated like this. He looked back at Wang Lin. He knew that what this youth was about to face was something that even an adult wouldn't be able to bear. The Tao is ruthless. The youth shook his head and left on a sword light. His voice came from afar. Cultivators can't have worldly concerns. You guys deal with your own matters. In 3 days I will come pick you up. Taiju's father's eldest brother saw the immortals leave and immediately walked out. He looked at his son excitedly and asked, "Did Immortal Dao Su accept you as a disciple?" Wang Zhu's face was full of pride as he said, "Of course. Master said that within 10 years, I will become an outstanding disciple of the Hengyu sect." Wang Zhu's father was overjoyed. He heavily patted his son's shoulder and happily said, "Good. Wang Zhu, you will be an immortal in the future. Our Wang family will have an immortal, haha." Wang Hao's father also had an anxious expression. He stared at Wang Hao and was about to ask, when Wang Hao yawned and proudly said, "Dad, no need to ask. Your son is already a disciple of the Hengyu sect." Wang Hao's father was overjoyed. He picked up the wine cup and took a big gulp. Wang Zhu's eyes were filled with contempt. He said in a strange tone, "Third uncle, you gave birth to a good son. He lost the face of our Wang family. He flattered the immortal in front of everyone and gave gift. Only then did he barely qualify to be a medicine boy." Wang Hao raised his eyebrows and mockingly said, "I like it. What about it? When the time comes, we'll see whose immortal spell is more powerful and who has lost face for the Wang family." Taiju's father kept looking at his son. He saw a trace of sadness on Taiju's face. His heart trembled and he had a bad feeling. Taiju's mother asked with hope, "Taiju, how are you?" Chapter 6. Today's second night watch is over, and there is one more night watch in the afternoon. Taiju was silent. Wang Zhu sneered. "I already said that this kid doesn't have the talent. Now, he went and lost face in vain. I was accepted in the first test, so I didn't see him take the next few tests. However, I heard that he didn't pass any of the 3 tests. If he had listened to me earlier, he might as well not go. I think 4th uncle's tiger is better than him." Taiju's 4th uncle frowned and shouted, "Wang Zhu, even if you become an immortal, don't be presumptuous in front of me. Whether my tiger has the talent or not, it's none of your business. You have no respect for your elders." A cold light flashed in Wang Zhu's eyes. He sneered a few times and didn't speak. Taiju's father suddenly seemed to have aged more than 10 years. He slumped on the chair. Taiju's mother was also stunned. She didn't seem to believe it. She asked, "Taiju, is it true?" Taiju bit his lower lip and didn't care about the blood. He knelt on the ground, kowtowed a few times, and said in a low voice, "Dad, Mom, Taiju was not accepted by the immortal. I'm sorry. I will repay you for raising me in my next life." Taiju's mother noticed the despair in her child's tone. She immediately ran over, hugged Taiju and sobbed, "Child, it's okay. Don't be sad. Isn't it just not accepted by the immortal? When we go to the county's big exam next year, it will be the same. Child, don't do stupid things. Think about it." Taiju's father also recovered at this time. Looking at Taiju's expression, his heart was shocked. He quickly hugged Taiju and said anxiously, "Taiju, don't do stupid things. Dad is here. Listen to Dad, go home and study hard. Next year's big exam will be the same." The expressions of the surrounding relatives changed very quickly. They all moved away from Taiju's parents. Their faces showed a look of watching the fun, gossiping and gossiping. I thought Taiju couldn't do it before. How can he be compared with Wang Zhuo? This time, he really lost his face. Taiju's father's sixth brother sneered. Taiju's father's third uncle revealed a look of disgust as he mocked. That's right. If you had known it would be like this, you wouldn't have made it seem like you were really going to be taken in. How embarrassing. Second brother, you're already so old, so why are you doing such stupid things? No wonder your father didn't give you the family property back then. In my opinion, the fact that this child has been smart since he was young is most likely fake. Second brother probably felt that he didn't have any future prospects in this life, so he boasted about his own child. Now look, he's been exposed. Fifth uncle, who was sitting beside Taiju's father, immediately changed his expression and changed his flattering expression. 3 children went to take the test, and only he failed. This child, Taiju, is the worst in our Wang family. How shameful. Second sister-in-law, I just said that you and second brother are enjoying life together, but now it seems that you will only be like this for the rest of your life. You don't have such luck. One of the women ridiculed. Isn't that so? A few days ago, I went to their village and saw Taiju. At that time, I thought that this child is stupid. How can he be compared with Wang Zhuo and Wang Hao? Taiju's fifth uncle and sister-in-law also changed their expressions and sneered. I already knew that this Taiju kid was no good. Look at his parents, how could they have a good kid? In our Wang clan, only the children of big brother and third brother are promising. Taiju Pa, just this name makes him look silly. Another woman from the group of women also didn't want to be left behind and ridiculed him. I must have been blind to have pushed my daughter into the fire pit. Fortunately, Taiju wasn't taken by an immortal, otherwise my daughter would hate me for the rest of her life. Taiju's mother, let's just forget about this matter. Since your child can't become an immortal, who would betroth their daughter to him? Isn't this a toad lusting after swan meat? For a moment, almost all of the relatives revealed their snobbish faces. All kinds of malicious words became more and more serious, mercilessly attacking Taiju's family. This scene, compared to the flattery just now, was like heaven and earth. There were even some who directly shed all pretense of cordiality and directly asked for gifts from before. Taiju's parents' faces turned pale when they heard this. Wang Lin clenched his fists, and the pain in his heart became even more intense. He felt like he was going to die, and all he could hear were the mocking words. Wang Zhuo's father sneered in his heart and said casually, "Second brother, I already said before that immortals take in disciples based on fate. The requirements are very strict. Unless someone is as outstanding as my son, there is no chance at all. But you really took it seriously. Now your child is so desperate that he can't live anymore. What's the point?" Taiju's father couldn't take it anymore. He suddenly turned around, glared at Wang Zhuo, and shouted, "Wang Tianshan, shut up! Back then, my father clearly left me a share of the family property before he died. You spent so much effort to contact relatives to snatch my share, and now you're here to mock me. Do you really think that I, Wang Tianshui, have no blood? And you relatives, you were just flattering me earlier, and now you're mocking me. My child is already like this, and you're still hitting him when he's down. Don't you have the slightest bit of humanity?" Wang Tianshan's tone became sluggish, and he said angrily, "Why are you bringing up the past? Your child is not cut out for that. I kindly advised you, but not only did you not thank me, you even got angry at me. Humph, if the upper beam is crooked, the lower beam will be crooked." The disdainful mockery from all around fell into the ears of Wang Lin, who was standing there in a daze. It was like a sharp thorn fiercely stabbing into his heart. He endured the tearing pain in his heart and looked at everything coldly, remembering the faces of every relative. "You! I'll fight it out with you." Taiju's father picked up a stool at the side and was about to rush over. Tai Zhu's fourth uncle quickly rushed out, stopped him, and said in a low voice, "Second brother, don't be rash. Boss has many servants at home. Don't be at a disadvantage. I'm here. Watch me." After saying that, he glared at Wang Tianshan and said, "Big brother, how can you speak like that? I, the fourth brother, can't take it anymore. If you dare to insult my second brother in front of me again, don't blame me for not caring about our brotherhood. Although the Wang family is big, I, the fourth brother, have made many friends in the pugilistic world over the years. Don't let me burn them all." Wang Tianshan said a few words, but he was very afraid of this fourth brother of his, who had a wide range of friends. "Fourth brother, what you said is wrong. Second brother's child is not cut out for that. Is it wrong for us to talk about it? This child is not cut out, and we are not allowed to talk about it. This is too unreasonable," the third uncle, who was the oldest in the family, said unhappily. Chapter 7. Today the third watch is over. That's right, fourth brother, we feel that it's not worth it for you to give your spot to the second brother. Wang Zhuo is right. Hu Zi is definitely stronger than Tai Zhu. Maybe he can really be accepted by an immortal. Tai Zhu's father's fifth brother added. Wang Zhuo proudly smiled and added oil to the fire. All of this was brought upon by their family. My father and I tried to persuade them before, but it was useless. Their family is stubborn. Now that they hit the wall, who can they blame? Wang Hao couldn't bear it and said, "Tai Zhu," without waiting for him to finish, Wang Hao's father glared at him. Wang Hao's tone stagnated, then he sighed and no longer interrupted. Tai Zhu's fourth uncle sighed and said in a deep voice, "Whoever mentions this again is making things difficult for me, fourth brother. This matter is over. Tai Zhu was not chosen, it can only be said that he has no luck, it has nothing to do with anything else. Tai Zhu, don't take it to heart. If you really can't do it, you can go with fourth uncle." Fourth uncle can't say anything to an immortal sect, but if it's a mortal sect, fourth uncle can still save some face. When the time comes, you and your brother Hu Zi will go together. I originally planned to send him to a sect to gain experience. When Wang Zhuo heard this, he immediately laughed and contemptuously said, "Tai Zhu, I think what fourth uncle said is right. You go. When the time comes, just tell others that you are a waste eliminated by the immortals. Maybe when they hear this, they will immediately accept you." Wang Lin slowly raised his head. His dark eyes swept across the surrounding relatives and finally landed on Wang Zhuo. He said word by word, "Wang Zhuo, listen carefully. I, Wang Lin, will definitely step into an immortal sect in this life. I will remember the ridicule you and your father gave my family." Wang Zhuo sneered and was about to ridicule him when fourth uncle frowned and shouted at Wang Zhuo, "Little bastard, if you keep talking, I'll cripple you right now and turn you into an idiot. I don't believe the immortals will still want you." Wang Zhuo's father's expression changed. He hurriedly pulled Wang Zhuo behind him and said, "Fourth brother, you dare." The surrounding relatives all had cold smiles on their faces as they watched the scene before them. Fourth Uncle Tai Zhu laughed out loud. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he said in a low voice, "Oh? Big brother, do you think I don't dare?" Tai Zhu's father quickly stepped forward and pulled his fourth brother back, saying anxiously, "Fourth brother, listen to second brother. You have a wife and a child at home, so you don't have to do this for second brother. Second brother will remember your kindness for the rest of his life. Fourth brother, send me off. Your sister-in-law and I will take Tai Zhu home." Tai Zhu's fourth uncle stared at Wang Zhuo's father and sneered a few times. Then he looked deeply at his second brother and nodded. He pulled Tai Zhu and left the mansion with Tai Zhu's parents. From afar, Wang Lin could vaguely hear the mocking voices of his relatives in the courtyard. Sitting in fourth uncle's carriage, the family embarked on their journey home. Tai Zhu's father sighed in his heart. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't disappointed, but Tai Zhu was his son after all. He sighed and said, "Taiju, this is nothing. When your father was kicked out of the family, he was even more depressed than you. But didn't he also persevere? Listen to your father, go home and study hard. Try to get a good result in next year's exam. If you don't like to study anymore, then go out with your fourth uncle to relax." Taiju's mother looked at her son lovingly and comforted him. "Taiju, don't do anything stupid. Mother only has you, this one child. If something happens to you, Mother doesn't want to live anymore. Child, you have to be strong." As she spoke, her tears flowed down. Wang Lin looked at his father and mother, nodded and said, "Father, Mother, don't worry. I won't do anything stupid. I have a plan, you don't need to worry." Taiju's mother held Taiju in her arms and whispered, "Taiju, it's all in the past. Let's not think about it anymore." His mother's warm embrace caused the wound in Wang Lin's heart to gradually show signs of healing. Wang Lin had been too tired these past few days. His mind was haggard and he was exhausted. As the carriage moved up and down, he gradually fell asleep. He had a dream. He dreamed that he became an immortal and flew in the sky with his parents. Late at night, Taiju woke up. He looked around at the familiar hut and sighed. His eyes flashed and his heart became even more determined. After leaving the hut, he looked deeply at his parents' room. He picked up a pen and a piece of paper, left a letter, and left the house with enough food. "I won't give up on the path to becoming an immortal. I must try the Hengyu sect again. Even if I don't accept them, I must find out the location of the other immortal sections." Wang Lin's eyes were firm. He carried his bag and left the village. At this moment, the moonlight paved the road and the stars pointed, making the shadow of Wang Lin's back very, very long. 3 days later, Wang Lin was walking on a remote mountain road. He was being held under the arm of the youth named Zhang. When he opened his eyes, he could vaguely see the general direction. Heading east, Wang Lin didn't care about the weeds cutting his legs and persistently moved forward. A week later, he had completely entered the depths of the mountain. Luckily, there weren't many man-eating beasts here. Wang Lin was very careful along the way. Finally, one morning, he stood at the top of a lonely mountain and saw the familiar mountain surrounded by clouds. At this moment, he was already exhausted. He sat at the top of the mountain and took out some food. He took a few bites and looked at the Hengyu sect's gate with a firm gaze. At this moment, the sound of a beast's breathing came from behind him. Wang Lin's hair stood on end. He turned around and his face immediately turned pale. It was a huge white tiger with blood-red eyes. Saliva dripped from the corner of its mouth and fell to the ground, making pata, pata sounds. With a roar, the white tiger pounced. Wang Lin bitterly smiled and jumped off the cliff without hesitation. As he fell, the wind blew against his face. Wang Lin's mind couldn't help but think of his parents' eyes and the mocking words of his relatives. "Dad, Mom, Taiju is unfilial. Farewell." The branches on the cliff were intertwined and messy. Wang Lin's body fell at an extremely fast speed. The branches broke from top to bottom. The moment he fell to the middle of the cliff, a huge suction force suddenly appeared. Wang Lin's body was involuntarily pulled into a cave in the cliff. He was tightly pressed against the wall of the cave. In a daze, Wang Lin felt as if his body was being pulled back by a wind. After a long time, the suction force gradually disappeared and his body fell from the wall. After a long time, he struggled to get up. His clothes were torn into strips by the branches and his body was covered with wounds. Especially his right arm, it was swollen and painful. The pain was like a tidal wave and beads of sweat flowed down his face. He touched his arm and couldn't tell if his bones were broken, but it was obvious that the injury was caused when he hit the wall. Chapter 8. Today is the first night watch, there will be more at noon. His face was pale. He gritted his teeth and stood up. He looked around and found that he was in a small natural cave. The sun shone through the entrance of the cave, and there were bones of birds and beasts everywhere. On the wall behind him, there was a fist-sized black hole. It was so dark that he couldn't tell how deep it was. After a little analysis, he vaguely got an answer. The suction force that suddenly appeared just now obviously came from this small hole. The skeletons of the birds on the ground should have been sucked in and fell to their deaths like him. This suction should have appeared at random times. It suddenly appeared at the moment when he fell, which saved his life. Wang Lin endured the pain in his right arm and was about to walk out of the cave. Suddenly, the bones on the ground moved without any wind and rushed backward. Wang Lin hurriedly rolled to a corner. At this moment, an unimaginably huge suction force appeared from the small hole in the wall. The bones of the birds and beasts on the ground rattled as they were continuously sucked into the small hole. Some of the bones were larger and seemed to be stuck to the wall, blocking the small hole. Even so, the suction was still strong. At this time, a bird was sucked into the hole outside and hit the wall at a very fast speed. Blood splashed everywhere. After about an hour, the suction disappeared. Wang Lin looked at the corpse of the bird on the ground in horror. He didn't move but sat quietly in the same place, calculating the time in his heart. After an hour, the suction appeared again. This cycle repeated several times. Wang Lin mastered the pattern. This strange suction lasted for an hour, and every time it stopped, it would appear again after an hour. Taking advantage of the disappearance of the suction, Wang Lin hurriedly endured the pain and came to the entrance of the cave. Looking down, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. Below was a jungle. He could vaguely see the strange rocks on the ground. The cliff was extremely steep. Now that his arm was injured, he couldn't climb at all. The bottom of the cliff was about 100 feet deep. If he jumped down, he would definitely fall to his death. The bag with food on him was also left on the top of the mountain. Now food was the only thing to solve. Wang Lin pondered for a while and calculated that the suction would decrease. He quickly returned to the cave and sat down against the corner. A day passed quickly. The sky was getting dark. Wang Lin clearly felt that his body was slowly weakening. His arm was completely numb. After thinking about it, he said to himself with a bitter smile, "Being trapped here is a dead end. There is no way to survive if I jump off the cliff." He looked at the badly mutilated body of Fei Niao in the corner and hesitated for a bit. He clenched his teeth and walked over to pick it up. When he put it next to his mouth, a fishy smell came from it. Wang Lin let out a sigh and began to eat the raw meat without a word. He didn't even chew and directly swallowed it. His stomach contracted and a warm feeling surged out. Very quickly, he devoured half of the bird. The feeling of nausea couldn't stop surging up. Wang Lin quickly stood up and took a deep breath to suppress the nausea. Casually throwing the remaining bird corpse to the side, Wang Lin sat down against the wall. His mind was filled with thousands of thoughts. One moment he thought of his parents, the next moment he thought of fourth uncle, the next moment he thought of the mocking faces of his relatives, and the next moment he thought of the ruthless eyes of the black-clothed middle-aged man from the Hengyu sect. While he was in a trance, he suddenly stared at the half-eaten bird corpse next to him. Without blinking, he grabbed it and carefully looked at it. Inside the half-eaten bird corpse, there was a red bead the size of a baby's fist. Wang Lin pulled out the bead and was greatly surprised. How could there be a bead in this bird's body? His heart skipped a beat. He remembered that he had once seen a mythological essay called The Classic of Mountains and Seas in the village teacher's place. In it, it introduced that if many animals lived for a long time, their bodies would form a treasure called the inner Dan. If a person ate this treasure, they would become infinitely stronger, live longer, and even regrow a severed limb. When he first saw the description, he didn't believe it and secretly laughed. But now that he had even seen an immortal, he couldn't help but believe some of the legends in the Classic of Mountains and Seas. Wang Lin's heart beat wildly. If this bead really was the inner core described in the classic of mountains and seas, then if he ate it, wouldn't his injuries be healed immediately? Leaving this place would be even easier, and even entering an immortal sect wouldn't be a problem. At the very least, he would be able to pass the test of perseverance. However, this bead was hard to the touch and didn't seem edible. He frowned and used a piece of cloth on his clothes to wipe it clean, restoring it to its original color. It was a gray stone bead with 5 white clouds carved on it. It looked quite old. Wang Lin was greatly disappointed. He bit the bead with his teeth and touched it. He smiled bitterly and said to himself, "Tai Zhu, you are too delusional. How can there be such a coincidence in this world? A random bird that falls and dies in front of you will have an inner core." He sighed. At this time, it was already dark outside. With a deep sense of tiredness, he curled up in a corner and gradually fell asleep. He casually placed the stone bead next to the animal bone. It was already autumn and the earth was losing heat very quickly, especially in the mountains. Traces of coolness constantly flowed into Wang Lin's body. In his sleep, he tightly hugged his body. The night passed quickly. Early the next morning, the sunlight floated in from outside the cave and shone into the cave. Traces of sparkling dew came out from the stone bead next to Wang Lin. As the dew gradually increased, it slowly flowed onto the animal bone. Not long after, Wang Lin woke up. His arm was still swollen. Not only did it show no signs of improvement, it was getting worse. Wang Lin sat on the ground, feeling melancholy. "Am I going to be trapped here for the rest of my life?" he murmured to himself. Suddenly, he noticed that there was dew on the animal bone next to him. Feeling thirsty, he carefully picked up the animal bone and licked the dew that had accumulated on it. The dew was sweet and tasty. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but after drinking it, his whole body felt warm and comfortable. Especially the area where his arm was injured, there was a sore and itchy feeling. The swelling actually decreased a little. Wang Lin rubbed his eyes and looked carefully. He was immediately surprised to find that the swelling on his arm had indeed decreased. He thought about it and immediately looked for other animal bones around him. Unfortunately, there was no dew on any of them. While he was puzzled, he suddenly looked at the stone bead next to him. He stared at it and saw tiny drops of dew on it. He recalled that the animal bone with dew on it was next to the stone bead. He gently picked up the stone bead. His heart couldn't stop beating fast. After hesitating for a moment, he rolled the bead on his arm and spread the dew evenly on the swollen area. A trace of coolness came from his arm. Wang Lin stared at his arm without blinking. After a long time, his eyes lit up with joy. The swelling on his arm had magically disappeared. He waved it slightly. Although it still hurt a little, it was no longer a problem. This stone bead must be a treasure. Wang Lin was pleasantly surprised. Chapter 9. Today was the second night watch. There was one more night watch in the afternoon. In the next few days, when he was hungry, he ate the birds that were sucked into the cave. Most of the day, he carefully observed the stone bead. Every time he would wipe his arm with the dew that appeared on it. Gradually, his arm completely recovered. He was very concerned about the dew, so he used the skull of a bird to accumulate a lot of it. On this day, he evenly sprinkled the accumulated dew on a piece of clothing, carefully wrapped the stone bead in it, hung it around his neck, and pulled it a few times to make sure it would not fall off. Taking advantage of the gap in the suction force, he came to the entrance of the cave. Clenching his teeth, he tore off most of his clothes, tied them together, fastened them to a nearby rock, tied them to his waist and carefully climbed down. After descending for about 5 or 6 feet, his hand suddenly slipped and his body fell rapidly. Fortunately, his clothes were slightly strained. His body swayed and he quickly grabbed onto a branch that grew horizontally. At this moment, his clothes were torn from the middle, and the part that was tied to his waist swayed in the air. Cold sweat emerged on Wang Lin's forehead. Looking down, there was still about 20 feet. He grabbed the branch with one hand and quickly grabbed the strip of clothing with the other, struggling to tie it to the branch. Only then did he heave a sigh of relief. Carefully moving his body, after a long time, he finally approached the cliff and continued to climb down. When he was a few feet from the bottom of the cliff, the strip of clothing had been used to its limit. Without hesitation, Wang Lin quickly jumped down. The strip of clothing could not bear the weight and burst open again, but it also slightly slowed down the speed of Wang Lin's fall. The strong wind blew in his face and a series of branches snapped. At the moment of landing, he struggled to control his body. His toes touched the ground first, and his body rolled on the ground with a huge thrust. The stones on the ground were like sharp knives, stabbing into his body, leaving a glistening bloody wound. In particular, his right leg was pierced by a sharp stone, the white bone was visible from the wound. Wang Lin's breathing was rapid and his eyes were unfocused. He struggled to put the strip of clothing wrapped around the stone bead in his mouth. His tongue sucked on the wet dew. After a while, he struggled to sit up. His hands trembled as he untied the cloth and twisted the wound on his right leg, causing a few drops of liquid to fall. A burst of coolness came from the wound. After doing all this, he weakly fell to the ground, secretly praying that no wild beast would come over before he recovered. At this moment, a shout suddenly came from the distance. "Taizhu, where are you?" Wang Lin was startled. After carefully listening, it was his father's voice. Without thinking, he immediately shouted with all his strength, "Dad, I'm here." A long rainbow quickly came from the distance. It circled around the cliff above Wang Lin and quickly descended. After the sword light dissipated, the Hengyu sect disciple named Zhang held Taizhu's father under his arm and frowned at Wang Lin. Taizhu's father saw his son and immediately burst into tears. He ran to Wang Lin and hugged him, crying, "Taizhu, why are you doing this? Why can't you think about it? Have you ever thought about how your parents would live if you died?" Wang Lin was startled. After pondering for a bit, he understood that his father misunderstood that he wanted to commit suicide. Looking at the wounds on his body and his sorry appearance, he couldn't help but bitterly smile. Disciple Zhang's eyes swept over Wang Lin and looked up. He found the cloth and jumped up. After a few jumps, he reached the cave. At this moment, a suction force suddenly appeared. His face was shocked, but he immediately recovered. He didn't care about the suction force. After looking inside, he gently landed and said in a low voice, "Your child wanted to commit suicide, but he was sucked in by this naturally formed wind eye. That's why he didn't fall to his death. Now that Wang Lin has been found, when we return to the sect, this matter will be decided by the elders." After he finished speaking, he rolled up his sleeves and grabbed Wang Lin and his father. He quickly left the place and arrived at the foot of the Hengyu sect's mountain peak. Following the stone steps, he easily climbed to the top. Returning to the old place, Wang Lin's mood was complicated. There were several people standing at the top of the mountain, and they all had a look of disgust. Disciple Zhang quickly went up and whispered a few words in the ear of one of the people. That person frowned and coldly said, "Since the person has been found, send him to the guest room to meet his mother." In the guest room, Wang Lin's mother saw her son and immediately burst into tears. She hugged him and whimpered. After listening to his parents, Wang Lin finally understood the whole story. After he ran away from home, his parents immediately returned to the Wang clan to find his fourth uncle. The three of them were worried about his safety, so they went to find Wang Zhu's father. Due to his fourth uncle's stubbornness, Wang Zhu's father reluctantly contacted all of his relatives and petitioned the Hengyu sect to help find Wang Zhu. This was the first time the Hengyu sect had encountered this kind of thing. They didn't want to get involved, but Wang Lin had left home because he wasn't accepted. If something really happened to him, although they didn't care about the life or death of a mortal, if this matter were to spread out and the surrounding villagers talked about it, there wouldn't be many parents who would let their children take the test. After thinking about it again and again, they sent a few people to search the area. Wang Lin's father was worried, so he followed them. That's why the scene from before happened. Not long after, someone brought over a medicinal soup. Taiju's mother quickly thanked them and carefully fed it to Wang Lin. This medicine was worthy of being made by an immortal sect. The effect was excellent. After drinking it, Wang Lin felt his body recover a lot and the pain from his wounds lessened. His parents' words of concern entered Wang Lin's ears. He originally wanted to explain, but after thinking about it, his parents might not believe him. At this moment, in the Hengyu sect's main hall, a few sect elders were sitting to the side, listening to the man surnamed Zhang describe the process of finding Wang Lin. After a long time, a red-faced old man slammed the table and said with dissatisfaction, "What does the life or death of a mortal have to do with us cultivators? Look at the cultivation sects in the state of Zhao. Which one of them is as disgraceful as us? For a child who wasn't selected, they actually sent people to search for him. How shameful!" To the side, a middle-aged man with a cold expression sighed and said in a deep voice, "Elder Ma is right. Looking at all the sects in the state of Zhao, our Hengyu sect is the most disgraceful. But if that child really died near our Hengyu sect, this matter will definitely affect the future disciple recruitment. At that time, when the parents think about the fact that their child wasn't selected, they might have suicidal thoughts. Who would dare to send their child here?" A brocade-robed old man took a sip of tea and slowly said, "To put it bluntly, isn't it because our Hengyu sect has declined and we need to select a large number of disciples suitable for cultivation? If this was 500 years ago, who cares if he lives or dies, we don't need to care about what mortals think." The last old man with a face full of wrinkles sighed and slowly said, "If this youth can commit suicide once, it is very likely that he will commit suicide a second time. Forget it, in order to avoid future trouble, we will make an exception and accept him as an honorary disciple." With that, he glanced at the middle-aged man, closed his eyes, and no longer said anything. Chapter 10. Yesterday, a brother came and drank too much. After returning home, his head was so dizzy that he couldn't write anything. This morning, he woke up at 4 o'clock and finally made up for it. The red-faced old man frowned and said with dissatisfaction, "Elder Li, does our Hengyu sect really have to be this cheap? Making an exception for a mortal's life and death?" Elder Li opened his eyes and said in a cold voice, "Elder Ma, the sect head said that we will be fully responsible for this matter. If we don't handle it well and this trash really commits suicide a second time, then his parents will spread the news and say that our Hengyu sect forced their child to die. This embarrassing matter, is it not cheap? You can take responsibility? If you take responsibility, then I won't care about this matter." The middle-aged man quickly tried to smooth things over and said, "Okay, let's not quarrel over such a small matter. How about this? Let's first accept him as an honorary disciple. After 8 or 10 years, if he fails to cultivate, then we'll send him back. This way, there won't be any trouble in the future. Isn't that wonderful?" The embroidered-robed old man suddenly said, "If the other children that weren't accepted follow suit, what should we do?" The middle-aged man chuckled and said, "That's easy. After this matter, we've learned a lesson. In the future, all the children that don't pass the test will use the divine transformation technique to teach them not to commit suicide. As for this Wang Lin, since it's already come to this, we might as well accept him. In any case, he's only an honorary disciple, so it's not a big deal." In addition to Elder Li, the other 2 elders looked at the middle-aged man with deep meaning in their eyes and no longer said anything. The middle-aged man smiled and said in his heart, "Wang Lin, Wang Lin, I've done everything I can to help. Your fourth uncle gave me that piece of fine iron, it would be impolite of me to refuse. I'm very surprised that a mortal was able to get his hands on such a material. The middle-aged man didn't know that this piece of refined iron was something Wang Lin's fourth uncle accidentally bought from a blacksmith. He was very knowledgeable and could tell with a glance that it was extraordinary. This time, in order to get Tai Zhu to join the Hengyu sect, he took it out with the attitude of giving it a try. As for the use of this treasure, he didn't know. A piece of refined iron had changed Wang Lin's fate. When the news reached his ears, Wang Lin couldn't believe that he had been accepted as an in-name disciple for no reason. 2 days later, he sent his parents off from the Hengyu sect. Seeing his parents' excited expressions, Wang Lin was also quite happy. He secretly decided to stay here and cultivate. However, this idea changed after his parents left the mountain. Wang Lin was called to a room specifically for in-name disciples. A shifty-eyed, yellow-clothed youth looked at him with contempt and mocked. "You are the Wang Lin who committed suicide to become an in-name disciple?" Wang Lin looked at him and remained silent. The youth raised his eyebrows and sneered. "Little brat, starting tomorrow, report to me every day at sunrise. Your job is to fetch water. If you don't have 10 vats, you won't have food to eat. If you can't do it for 7 days in a row, I will report to the elders and they will expel you from the Hengyu sect. These are your clothes. Remember, in-name disciples can only wear gray clothes. Only when you become an in-name disciple will you be given clothes of other colors." After he finished speaking, he impatiently threw the clothes and token to the side and closed his eyes, no longer paying attention to the other person. Wang Lin picked up the clothes and asked, "Where do I live?" The youth didn't even blink as he casually said, "Go north and you will naturally see a row of houses. Give the token to the disciple there, and they will arrange a room for you." Wang Lin remembered this and turned to walk north. After he left, the youth opened his eyes and contemptuously said to himself, "Actually joined by committing suicide. What a waste." Walking through the Hengyu sect, Wang Lin saw that most of the disciples were wearing gray robes. They were all in a hurry and had cold expressions. Some of them were even holding work tools in their hands and looked very tired. After walking north for a long time, he finally saw a row of short houses. There were many more gray-clothed disciples here, but they still went about their own business and rarely talked to each other. After giving the token to the yellow-clothed disciple in charge, the disciple didn't say a word and impatiently pointed to a house. Wang Lin was used to the cold expressions of the people here. He walked to the house and opened the door. The room wasn't big. There were 2 wooden beds, a table, and it was very clean. It was about the same as his home. He chose a wooden bed that no one seemed to be using and put down his luggage. Then he lay down on the bed and thought about many things. Although he had finally joined the Hengyu sect, he couldn't practice celestial spells like he had imagined. From what the yellow-clothed youth said, his job was to fetch water. Thinking about this, he let out a sigh. He touched the stone bead that was tied to his chest. This was a treasure he cared a lot about. Wang Lin had read a lot of books, so he knew a lot of stories. One of them was that an ordinary man's wealth would make him guilty. He secretly decided that he couldn't let anyone know that he had this treasure. Not long after, night fell. A skinny, gray-robed youth walked in with a tired expression. When he saw Wang Lin, he was startled. After carefully looking at Wang Lin, he no longer paid any attention to Wang Lin and lay down on the bed to sleep. Wang Lin didn't care. He knew he had to wake up early tomorrow. He rubbed his stomach and took out some sweet potatoes from his bag. This food was brought by his parents to eat while they were looking for him. When they found Wang Lin and saw that he had been accepted into the Hengyu sect, they left the rest of the sweet potatoes for him. The sweet potatoes were very sweet. Wang Lin ate a few mouthfuls. At this time, the youth lying across from him moved and stared at the sweet potatoes. He swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva and whispered, Can you give me a piece? Wang Lin immediately took out a few pieces and threw them on the youth's bed. He smiled and said, I have a lot here. If you like it, eat more. The young man immediately grabbed it and wolfed it down. Then, he quickly ran to the table and poured a glass of water. He drank it all in one gulp and sighed, Damn it, I haven't eaten for 2 days. Thanks, bro. Right, what's your name? Wang Lin said his name. When the youth heard this, he was stunned and said, You are Wang Lin, the cripple who committed suicide to enter the Hengyu sect. Speaking up to here, he felt proud and laughed. Brother, my name is Zhang Hu. To be honest, almost everyone in the sect knows you. Don't blame me for saying that. I actually admire you for using this kind of method to enter. Wang Lin bitterly smiled and didn't explain. He handed over a few more pieces of sweet potatoes. Zhang Hu quickly took them. After eating a few mouthfuls, he embarrassedly said, Wang Lin, you should keep some for yourself. You are new, so you don't know how evil the weasel in the chore department is. Wait until you start working tomorrow. Damn, he doesn't even treat us honorary disciples as people. Chapter 11. The first night watch today. There was still time at noon. Weasel? Wang Lin was stunned. The first person he thought of was the youth in yellow who had laughed at him before. He felt that he was more suitable to be called that, but he wasn't sure if the youth was talking about him or not. You didn't see him? He's the man in charge of arranging the work of the in-name disciples. He's also an in-name disciple, but he's already qualified to practice immortal technique. He's dressed in yellow and doesn't look like a good person. He's like a wolf cub. We call him that in private. Zhang Hu took a sip of water and explained while gritting his teeth. Wang Lin ate a mouthful of sweet potato and said, I know who you're talking about. I saw him today. He told me that from tomorrow onwards, I have to fill 10 vats of water every day, or I won't be able to eat. Zhang Hu was stunned. He stared at Wang Lin for a long time and suddenly asked, Bro, do you have a grudge against him in the past? Wang Lin shook his head and asked, What's wrong? Zhang Hu looked at Wang Lin with a pitiful look and asked, Wang Lin, do you think that the vats of water are as big as the ones we use at home? As he said that, he gestured with his hands. Wang Lin had a bad feeling in his heart and nodded. Zhang Hu smiled bitterly and said, You must have offended the weasel. The vats he mentioned are about the size of our house. There are 10 vats of water. Wang Lin, I don't want these sweet potatoes anymore. You can keep them. I think it'll be good if you can eat one meal every 4 or 5 days. You're new here, and the places that produce wild fruits in the mountains have been occupied by others. Only the old people can pick a few. I'll eat my wild fruits tomorrow. After saying that, he put the remaining sweet potatoes on the table, sighed, and lay back down on the bed to sleep. A sliver of anger appeared in Wang Lin's heart. He clenched his teeth and thought of his parents' eyes filled with hope. He suppressed the anger in his heart and went to sleep on the bed. The next day, before dawn, he got out of bed. Zhang Hu was still snoring. Wang Lin changed into a gray robe and hurriedly went to the junk room. The moment he arrived, the sun gradually appeared in the east. The youth in yellow pushed open the door and looked at Wang Lin from the corner of his eyes. He said in a strange tone, You're quite punctual. Go in and get a bucket of water. Go out from the east door. There's a spring in the mountains. After saying that, he ignored Wang Lin and sat cross-legged on the ground. He faced the sun and breathed slowly. Wisps of white smoke came out from his nose like 2 white dragons. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a look of envy. He walked into the room and looked around. Finally, he saw the 10 huge water tanks behind a door. He smiled bitterly and picked up 2 buckets of water. He walked towards the east door. After walking for a long distance, he finally arrived at the spring. The scenery here was quite beautiful. The sound of water flowing was like the sound of nature. Wang Lin didn't have time to look at the beautiful scenery. He filled the bucket and hurriedly carried it up the mountain. He didn't fill the bucket until dusk. If he didn't have sweet potatoes to fill his stomach at noon, he wouldn't have the strength to do the rest of the work. Even so, his legs and arms were sore and numb. The pain was unbearable when he exerted force. After muttering to himself for a while, he carried the half-filled bucket of water and found a deserted place. He carefully observed his surroundings, and after confirming that there was no one around, he took out the stone bead from his bosom and shook it in the bucket. After a while, he fished out the stone bead and carefully put it away. He poured the water out of the bucket and drank it. Immediately, a warm feeling appeared in his stomach and the soreness in his muscles slowly dissipated. Although the effect wasn't as good as the dew, Wang Lin was still very excited. He touched the stone bead on his chest and once again decided that he couldn't let anyone know he had this treasure. After drinking half the bucket of water, his muscles were no longer sore and he felt refreshed. He immediately continued to carry water. On this day, he filled 1.5 jars and drank half a bucket of spring water soaked in the mysterious bead. In order to avoid suspicion, he pretended to be exhausted and returned to his residence. Not long after, Zhang Hu came back. His face still had the same tired expression. The two talked for a bit. Zhang Hu hesitated for a long time and finally asked for 2 pieces of sweet potatoes. After eating them, he fell asleep on the bed. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin had been at the Hengyu sect for a month. Wang Lin now knew that Zhang Hu's job was to chop firewood. Every day, he had to chop enough wood to eat. Ever since he became an honorary disciple of the Hengyu sect, he had been chopping firewood. It had been 3 years. 3 years ago, he could only eat 1 meal every 3 or 4 days. He had to drink water to fill his stomach. Now, he could eat 1 meal every 2 days. According to him, honorary disciples had to do chores for 10 years and couldn't skip 3 meals a day. Only by meeting these 2 requirements could they be taught some basic immortal technique. Inner disciples were different from them. They had their own masters and didn't need to do chores. They had their own rooms and their main job was to cultivate. In addition, there was another type of person in between inner disciples and honorary disciples. They were like Wang Hao, who became someone else's boy. In fact, the so-called boy was simply a servant. This type of person didn't need to do chores and could also cultivate some low-level immortal techniques. They only needed to complete the work their master gave them. However, these people were usually very average and wouldn't have much success in their lives. They could only be servants for the rest of their lives. Wang Lin had learned about the so-called talent from Zhang Hu. Simply put, talent was spirit root. Everyone more or less had some in their body. But the important thing was the quantity. If the same immortal technique could be learned in 1 year, then those who lacked spirit root might need 10 or even 100 years. A person's life was limited. Those with mediocre talent often didn't have much development in their lives. This was also why cultivation sects prioritized spirit root when recruiting disciples. During this month, Wang Lin drank a lot of spring water that was soaked in the mysterious bead every day. His body became stronger and stronger, as if he had endless strength. At the beginning, he needed 6 days to fill 10 vats of water. Now, he only needed 3 days to do so. But in order to not be suspected, he woke up before sunrise every day and leisurely walked on the mountain path with a bucket of water. In the eyes of others, although they were surprised that he could finish the task in 3 days, most of them blamed it on him waking up early and working late. Chapter 12. Today was the second night watch, and there was more in the afternoon. In the past month, almost all the nominal disciples knew Wang Lin. When they saw him, they showed a superior expression and spoke viciously and sarcastically. Wang Lin ignored them. He knew that these nominal disciples were all twisted and perverted. Before he came, these people were at the bottom of the sect, and they had no way to vent their bitterness. Now he came. He entered the sect by committing suicide, and his status was undoubtedly lower than that of the nominal disciples, so he became a target for everyone to bully. He sneered in his heart, knowing that this kind of thing could not be solved by resistance. In the sect, the strong were respected. Those nominal disciples who entered the sect earlier than him were all very strong, and some even learned some simple magic arts. If he resisted, he would be the one to suffer. However, Wang Lin was not that kind of soft persimmon. He remembered all the sarcastic faces in his heart and waited to return them one by one when his strength increased. With this idea, he was like a deaf and blind person. No matter what others said, he still went his own way. Every day, in addition to fetching water, he secretly studied the mysterious bead. He tried to soak the bead with various liquids, spring water, dew, sweat, and even blood. In the end, he found that dew was the best. However, there were differences in dew. The dew that appeared on the stone bead in the morning was the best, and the dew at night was the second. If the dew collected from other objects was soaked in the bead, the effect was even worse. By analogy, the spring water was the least effective, and the blood and sweat had almost no effect at all. In order not to attract attention, he specially found a few wild small gourds in the mountains. After pulling out all the seeds, he used them to hold different dew. He did not carry these gourds with him, but found a remote place and buried them deep in the ground in different positions. He never took them back to the sect except for taking them out when he collected them every day. What he carried with him was the gourd with spring water. When he was tired, he drank a few mouthfuls and immediately felt refreshed. In addition, Wang Lin also discovered a strange phenomenon. Whenever dew appeared on the stone bead at night or early in the morning, the surface of the bead would look like it was full of water droplets, but when it was actually collected, more than half of the dew would mysteriously disappear. At most, less than 1/10 of the dew would be left. For this strange phenomenon, Wang Lin could only conclude that the dew was absorbed by the bead. Although this explanation was somewhat absurd, Wang Lin really couldn't think of any other explanation. One evening, Wang Lin filled up the remaining 3 jars of water and said to the yellow-clothed youth who was meditating, "Senior Brother Liu, I'm going home for a while. I won't be coming tomorrow." The youth surnamed Liu rolled his eyes and glanced at Wang Lin. He snorted. Wang Lin didn't care. He learned from Zhang Hu that honorary disciples could go home 3 times a year to visit their family. They could apply to an elder surnamed Sun at any time and ask for a talisman that would allow them to come and go as they pleased. Wang Lin remembered that his father's birthday was coming up, so he had to go home no matter what. After leaving the chore house, he went to the elder in charge of honorary disciples. The Hengyu sect was divided into 5 subdivisions, 1 main courtyard and 6 courtyards. The 5 subdivisions were metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Each had an honorary disciple living there. Most of the inner disciples and elders lived in the main courtyard. Normally, when he fetched water, he would watch from afar and be filled with envy. This time, he carefully looked around and stood outside the main courtyard and loudly said, "Honorary disciple Wang Lin requests to see Elder Sunday." A young man wearing white walked out of the main courtyard. He looked at Wang Lin and arrogantly said, "You are Wang Lin?" Seeing that the other person was wearing white, Wang Lin's heart tightened and he nodded. He now knew that the Hengyu sect disciples were divided into different colors according to their rank. Honorary disciples were divided into gray and yellow. Yellow meant they were qualified to practice immortal spells. As for the inner court disciples, according to their own strength, from high to low, their clothes were divided into 4 colors: purple, black, white, and red. The white-clothed youth's mouth twitched. He coldly looked at Wang Lin and walked into the courtyard. Wang Lin expressionlessly followed. Walking in the main courtyard, it did not take long before he was brought to a garden with flowers and plants. The youth in white said lazily, "Marshal Uncle Son, there is an unnamed disciple looking for you." After he finished speaking, he casually stood to the side. An old voice came from the garden, "You can leave. Honorary disciple, come in." The white-clothed youth let out a chuckle and left. Wang Lin's heart was very nervous as he pushed open the gate. The moment he walked in, he was immediately hit by the smell of medicine. Wang Lin was startled as he turned around to look at the gate. He was puzzled. There was only one gate between them, so why couldn't he smell any medicine? The voice was dissatisfied and came from a room in the corner of the garden. "What are you doing there? Why haven't you reported your name?" Wang Lin respectfully said, "Disciple Wang Lin greets Elder Sunday. Tomorrow is my father's birthday, so disciple wants to go home." The old voice reprimanded, "You are called Wang Lin? So it's you." Immortal cultivators, pay attention to cutting off the mortal world. If you care about the mortal world like this, don't even think about stepping into the immortal world. Wang Lin frowned and couldn't help but say, "Disciple hasn't learned any immortal spells, how can I be considered a cultivator?" The other party was silent for a while. After a long time, he impatiently said, "The time limit is 3 days. Go quickly and return quickly. This is a 1,000-mile talisman that can be used twice. Stick it on your leg and it will greatly increase your speed." With that, a seemingly ordinary piece of yellow paper floated out of the window and landed at Wang Lin's feet. Wang Lin picked it up and put it in his pocket. He knew from Zhang Hu that all honorary disciples who went out to visit relatives would receive these talismans. The Hengyu sect's goal was very simple. They wanted to use the disciples who went home to visit relatives to show off their immortal spells and attract more children to take the entrance test. This talisman was actually very poor quality. The only good thing about it was that it was easy to use. You only needed to stick it on your leg to use it. For mortals, it could increase their speed. However, there were many inner sect disciples who were keen to accumulate it. It was said that it could be used to exchange for things in the outside world. The honorary disciples all treated it like a treasure. Some of them were even more reluctant to use it, so they used the excuse of visiting relatives to save up a lot. Walking out of the main courtyard, Wang Lin pondered for a bit and then walked back to his residence. He packed his luggage in his room, said goodbye to Zhang Hu, and then went down the mountain. At this time, the sky was filled with stars. Wang Lin originally planned to leave tomorrow, but he wasn't sure how fast he would be after using the talisman. He was afraid of delaying his father's birthday, so he decided to travel through the night. Not long after Wang Lin left, Elder Sun opened the door to his room and was about to collect some herbs. Suddenly, his expression froze. He stared at a spot near the entrance of the garden. The several strands of blue grass planted there had all withered. Chapter 13. Puzzled, he walked closer to take a closer look. He found that not only the blue grass, but even the purple night flowers had withered to varying degrees, just not as badly as the blue grass. He clearly remembered that the herbs were still green and vigorous at noon. How could they become like this in just one afternoon? He grabbed the withered bluegrass and looked at it. From the appearance of the bluegrass, it seemed to have lost all of its water, so it had withered. His face revealed a contemplative expression. He touched the soil on the ground and found that the soil was very moist, completely in line with the environment for the herbs to grow in. This made him very surprised. After a long time, his eyes suddenly lit up and he muttered to himself, "This afternoon, only one person came here, but he is an honorary disciple. How could he let these herbs wither?" Thinking about this, he decided to investigate. Without a word, he waved his sleeves and floated into the air. A 7-colored cloud appeared under his feet and he quickly left the main courtyard. Not long after, he arrived at the honorary disciples' chores area. "Which disciple is in charge here?" Elder Sun shouted in a low voice. His voice suddenly turned into bursts of thunder. The yellow-clothed disciple named Lu, who was in charge of this area, quickly ran out of his room. His face was pale as he knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing. Elder Sun frowned and impatiently said, "Do you have Wang Lin's registration here?" Disciple named Lu's heart skipped a beat. He never thought that the high and mighty elder would personally come here to ask about a piece of trash. In his panic, he remembered how he had made things difficult for Wang Lin in the past. His face suddenly turned pale and he said, "Disciple, disciple, disciple has junior brother Wang Lin's registration. Junior brother Wang Lin is diligent and studious. Every time he does work, he is very serious. Disciple has always seen him as a role model, a role model." Elder Sun didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he was very happy. The more nervous the disciple was, the more he respected him. It has to be said that the Hengyu sect's elders were not worth much. All the second-generation disciples were elders. Of course, this was only for honorary disciples. If it was inner disciples, they would call him martial uncle. Although he was an elder in the eyes of the honorary disciples, he actually had no status among the second-generation disciples. His strength was also at the bottom of the ladder. Even the third-generation disciples looked down on him. Otherwise, he would not be assigned to be responsible for the application of insignificant nominal disciples to go home to visit their families. With a straight face, Elder Sun asked in a deep voice, "Which courtyard does Wang Lin live in?" In the Earth Deputy courtyard in the north corner." Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Elder Sun's body moved, turned into a long rainbow, and fled towards the north, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Disciple Lu became even more nervous, his intestines turning green with regret. He swore to himself that the next time he saw Wang Lin, he would never mock him like he did before. He would have to flatter him and treat him as if he were his own grandfather. After all, he was someone that even the elders personally cared about. After Elder Sun arrived at the Earth Vice courtyard, he scanned the area with his divine sense. However, he did not find Wang Lin. After pondering for a moment, he entered the registration office and found Wang Lin's room number. Zhang, who was sleeping soundly and did not notice Elder Sun's arrival. After carefully probing the room with his divine sense, Elder Sun frowned and muttered to himself, "He left so fast. Humph, it will be the same when he comes back." As Wang Lin walked in the mountains, there was an immortal talisman on his legs. This immortal talisman was really magical. After it was stuck on his body, a stream of hot air entered his body and gathered at his feet. It shined with a dazzling white light. From afar, he looked like a real immortal. Especially the beasts in the forest, when they saw this white light, they quickly ran away, not daring to come close. A light breeze blew on his face, and the mountain air was fresh. Wang Lin was in a good mood, and his footsteps were fast, following the direction in his memory. The night passed uneventfully, and the next morning, when the sky was bright, he drank some spring water from the gourd. When he was full of energy, he looked back and found that he had walked out of the forest. After a while, he would arrive at the county town. At that time, he could follow the path back to the village. Without stopping, he quickly walked forward. When the sky was bright, he entered the county town. At this time, it was the market and it was bustling with people. Wang Lin strolled around, bought some gifts for his parents, and left in a hurry. When the sun was high up in the sky, Wang Lin finally returned to the village. From afar, he saw a red Chong Fu hanging high in his house. On it was a big longevity character. There were many carriages outside, and people were coming and going. It was very lively. Wang Lin was startled, and his body quickly stopped outside his house. The scene of his appearance was too shocking. The relatives who had gathered at Wang Lin's house to celebrate his birthday only saw a white light flash, and then Wang Lin appeared in front of them. Everyone had a look of envy, and they all started to praise him. "Second brother, Wang Lin is back. Look at this child, he is really talented, and looks like the material of an immortal. Isn't that so? In the beginning, the immortal made a mistake, and later regretted it. He directly accepted Wang Lin as a disciple, and our Wang family will rely on these 3 children in the future. It was my old eyes that didn't see the good points of this child. Now that I see it, Wang Lin is not as good as Wang Zhua and Wang Hao. He is clearly a dragon among men. Good, good, good. The oldest 3rd uncle of the Wang family stroked his white beard and praised loudly, as if he had forgotten his vicious face from a month ago. Wang Lin has been smart since he was young. I said long ago that he would definitely be accepted by the immortal. Last time was just an accident. Even the immortal could make a mistake, let alone us mortals. Wang Lin, don't resent 5th uncle. 5th uncle apologizes to you here. Everyone had different opinions, and all of the relatives changed their expressions. Each one of them had a smile on their face, revealing a friendly expression. Wang Lin coldly snorted in his heart. At this moment, his father came out of the house in surprise. He pulled Wang Lin's hand and asked with concern, "Taizhu, why are you back? Didn't I tell you to be at ease in the Hengyu sect? Don't always worry about home." Wang Lin looked at his father and clearly saw that the wrinkles on his father's face had lessened a lot. It was obvious that he was very happy these days, so he smiled and said, "Dad, don't worry. Every disciple in the sect has 3 opportunities to visit relatives a year. After your birthday, I'll immediately go back." Wang Lin's father proudly looked around at his relatives, pulled Taizhu into the house, and said loudly, "Son's mother, look who's back." Wang Lin's mother was surrounded by a group of women. They were all talking about daily life. When she heard her husband's words, she quickly looked up and immediately ran over to grab Wang Lin's hand, asking him questions with concern. Chapter 14. The update is over, there will be more in a while. Wang Lin's heart was warm. This month, he had been used to the ridicule of others. Now that he was home, he immediately felt the care his parents had for him. 2nd brother, Wang Lin, is already an immortal's disciple. 6th brother was blind and said a few harsh words. 2nd brother, please don't take it seriously. You know me, I have a sharp tongue but a soft heart. It's all for the good of Wang Lin. 2nd sister-in-law, when my daughter heard that I didn't arrange a marriage for her, she became anxious. No matter what, she wants to marry your Taizhu. Do you think we should fix this marriage? 2nd brother, 5th uncle is old. The Wang family will depend on you in the future. In this life, 5th uncle values your child the most. He has a promising future. To be honest, I think he's even more promising than your eldest brother's son. Wang Lin's parents were glowing. Not long after, the birthday banquet began. All the relatives who came were full of praise for Wang Lin. After drinking a few cups of wine, they loudly complained about the injustice of Wang Lin's father's inheritance. No matter what, they wanted to unite and fight for his share. Wang Lin's father smiled. He did not take it seriously. He knew these relatives too well. More importantly, he no longer cared about what happened in the past. He only hoped that his son could become better and better. He had no other wishes. After a lively day, at dusk, all the relatives left one after another. Wang Lin looked at the large and small gifts in his yard and sighed with emotion. It was often said in books that when a man achieves the Tao, his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. He now completely understood this saying. At night, Wang Lin's parents asked him about life in the sect. Wang Lin looked at his parents' expectant eyes and lied to them for the first time. He described how he was popular in the sect and how he cultivated. His parents were so happy that they could not close their mouth. For his parents, no matter how hard it was to be a nominal disciple, no matter how others ridiculed him, he gritted his teeth and endured it. After all, his parents had never been as happy as they were today. Isn't it just 10 years? I'll endure it. Wang Lin made up his mind. Wang Lin stayed at home with his parents for 2 days. On the morning of the 3rd day, as his parents and all the villagers sent him off, he stuck the immortal talisman on his leg and left. Even when he was far away, the envious words of the villagers were still echoing in his ears. Today, the sky was gloomy, and dark clouds covered the sky. It was as if a large stone was pressing against one's heart. Thunder rumbled in the sky from time to time, and the humidity in the mountains increased greatly. Mist even appeared. Wang Lin couldn't help but speed up and finally arrived at the Hengyu sect late at night. Lying on the bed, Zhang Hu was still sleeping soundly. Wang Lin tossed and turned, but couldn't fall asleep. At midnight, thunder rumbled outside and lightning flashed across the room, illuminating everything in the room. Wang Lin touched the bead in his pocket. This time, he asked his mother to sew an inner pocket in his clothes and put the bead inside. Taking out the stone bead from the inner pocket, Wang Lin looked at it with the light of the oil lamp. Suddenly, his expression changed. He rubbed his eyes and stared at the cloud pattern on the bead. That's not right. I remember last time I saw it there were 5 clouds, but now there are 6? Wang Lin was surprised. He sat up and carefully counted. There were indeed 6 white clouds. He was surprised, but couldn't think of the reason. He became more and more curious about the bead. Carefully putting it back in his pocket, Wang Lin blew out the oil lamp and went to sleep with questions in his mind. Outside, the wind was howling, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. Bean-sized raindrops fell from the sky, causing the windows in the room to flutter. Wang Lin, who was sleeping, was awakened by a burst of cold air. The moment he opened his eyes, he was stunned. A series of lightning bolts illuminated everything. The room was filled with a thick mist. The table, the floor, and even the bed were wet. However, other than his chest, Wang Lin's body was not wet. He quickly looked at Zhang Hu and saw that Zhang Hu's body was covered in white frost. His clothes were soaked and his body was covered in frost. His eyes were closed, his face was purple, and his teeth were chattering. Zhang Hu, Zhang Hu! Wang Lin was shocked and quickly got up. After pushing and shoving for a long time, Zhang Hu did not show any signs of waking up. Even his breathing was faintly discernible. In his anxiety, Wang Lin was about to go out and find other disciples to help. At this moment, he suddenly stopped and touched his clothes. His heart was filled with doubt. Why is it that in the same room, and the bedding can be wrung out of water, but when I am lying on it, other than my chest, the rest of my clothes are not wet? Wang Lin's heart jumped. He looked down at his chest and his eyes flashed. He quickly took out the mysterious bead. At this moment, all the water droplets in the room began to tremble and slowly floated up. Even Zhang, whose body emitted a white mist, forming water droplets that floated in the air. At this time, another bolt of lightning flashed. Wang Lin was shocked to find that the water droplets were shining brightly. They suddenly turned into crystal points and quickly gathered towards the mysterious bead in his hand. Wang Lin hurriedly threw the bead and squatted on the ground to avoid the water droplets that shot towards him. The mysterious stone bead drew an arc in the air and finally fell to the ground and rolled to the side. All the water droplets quickly landed on it and disappeared into the bead. Not long after, all the water in the room disappeared. Even the damp bedding became dry. Zhang Hu's breathing also slowly returned to normal. His clothes were all wrinkled and stuck to his body. After a long time, although there was still a thunderstorm outside, the sky was no longer dark. There was a faint moonlight shining down. Wang Lin stood up and hesitated for a moment. He carefully picked up the mysterious bead and looked at it carefully. Suddenly, he discovered something different. The number of clouds above had increased to 7. The scene just now made him curious about the mysterious bead, but also a trace of fear. If he had not woken up in time to take out the bead, Zhang Hu might have been implicated and frozen to death. As for why he was fine, Wang Lin thought for a moment. He attributed it to the fact that he often drank the mountain spring water and dew that was soaked in the bead. However, Wang Lin was very interested in the clouds on the bead. He really wanted to know what these clouds were used for. After thinking for a long time, he gave up on the idea of letting the bead absorb the rain outside. He was worried that if the scene was too big, it would attract other people's attention. After hesitating for a moment, he carefully placed the bead in his inner pocket. Not long after, the sky gradually brightened. Wang Lin was about to go to the chore office when Zhang Hu suddenly somersaulted out of bed and shouted, "Water, water, I'm dying of thirst." Chapter 15. One more night in the afternoon, he ran to the table in a daze. He picked up the kettle and poured for a long time, but not a single drop came out. He couldn't help but be startled. He rubbed his eyes and looked around. He found that the bedding was dry and crumpled. He said to Wang Lin in a daze, "Wang Lin, when did you come back? Is our house having a drought?" Wang Lin smiled bitterly and pushed open the door. "I don't know. It was like this when I came back. Why don't you ask the other Marshall brothers? But if the elders hear about it, you'll have to explain. Maybe they'll interrogate you." Zhang Hu shook his head and said, "Forget it, I won't tell them. If I don't give a good answer, I'll be scolded." Wang Lin ignored him and walked out of the room. It was still raining outside. He thought for a while and then hurried out. He was worried that the bead would cause a rainstorm, so he purposely chose some small paths and walked out of the east gate. All the water that fell on him was absorbed by the mysterious bead. He was very nervous, afraid that someone would find out. He had planned to hide it in his room, but after thinking about it carefully, he gave up. He thought it would be safer to hide it outside. He walked all the way to the place where he hid the water gourd. Fortunately, it wasn't bright outside, so there weren't many people up early. Wang Lin walked very carefully. After making sure there was no one around, he quickly hid the bead there. After doing this, he let out a sigh of relief. He planned to wait for the rain to stop before taking the treasure away. After looking around, Wang Lin cautiously left. When he arrived at the chore house, just as he was about to pick up the water bucket, the door of Disciple Lu's room creaked open, revealing a protruding mouth and monkey cheek. When he saw Wang Lin, he was startled. His face suddenly lit up with enthusiasm. He stepped forward and grabbed the water bucket from Wang Lin's hand. He said, "Isn't this Marshall brother Wang? How are your parents? I've been missing you these days." Wang Lin was startled. He was very familiar with the other party's face. It was no different from his own relatives. However, he couldn't figure out what this surnamed Lu was trying to do today. "Senior brother Lu, my parents are still in good health. There is no need for you to worry about them," Wang Lin said cautiously, unable to guess what the other party was thinking. "Junior brother, you don't have to wake up so early in the future. Junior brother, it's not that I want to scold you, but I was joking with you before. I told you to fill 10 vats of water a day, and you really believed me. From now on, you only need to fill 1 vat of water a day, and it doesn't matter if you fill it to the brim or not. When it's time to eat, you go eat. If someone makes things difficult for you, just say my name." "Good." Disciple Lu patted his chest and said enthusiastically. A strange expression appeared on Wang Lin's face, and he hesitated for a moment before asking, "Senior brother, do you have something you want me to do?" Disciple Lu immediately revealed a dissatisfied expression, pretending to be angry and said, "Junior brother, why are you treating me like an outsider? Do you think I'm such an unscrupulous person? You are my junior brother, and it is only right and proper for me to treat you well. In the future, your matters are my matters. This is just a small gesture of goodwill, and when the time comes, whether your work is good or bad, isn't it just a word from your senior brother? Since it's raining today, you don't need to work." "That's right, junior brother. A few days ago elder son came looking for you. Now that you have returned, it would be best for you to report to Elder Sunday. Finished speaking, he looked at Wang Lin to see how he would react. Wang Lin thought for a moment, and revealed a smile that wasn't a smile. In his heart, he had guessed most of the reason. Listening to the other party's words, Elder Sun must have come looking for him after he left. This surnamed Lu most likely had some misunderstanding, and that was why he was trying to curry favor with him today. He didn't point it out. Instead, he copied what the other party did in the past and made a sound of N. Disciple Lu looked at Wang Lin's expression and his heart skipped a beat. He was even more certain of his guess. He secretly thought that this trash brat must have had some dog shit luck to actually be able to find an elder. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so arrogant. This brat was the type of person who held a grudge. In the past, he made things difficult for him, but in the future, this brat would definitely make things difficult for him. He had been an honorary disciple Shursan for 2 years, and had also been in the chore house for 6 years. He had never seen an elder personally come looking for an honorary disciple. Normally, even if they sent an inner disciple, it would be an incredible thing. It wasn't that he didn't think that Wang Lin might have offended an elder, but he wasn't sure. After being in the Hengyu sect for so many years, he knew how deep the waters were. As a small honorary disciple, he was too insignificant. Thinking about this, he gritted his teeth and took out a piece of yellow paper. He stuffed it into Wang Lin's hand and said, "Junior brother, when I saw you last month, I felt like we were old friends. This is a small gift to show my respect, so you have to accept it. If you don't want it..." Without waiting for him to finish, Wang Lin grabbed the yellow paper. He glanced at it and immediately found out that it was an immortal talisman used by honorary disciples to visit relatives. Wang Lin chuckled and said, "No problem. Senior brother has good intentions, so it would be impolite for junior brother to refuse. However, the elder is waiting for me. Tomorrow, junior brother will come and catch up with senior brother." Senior brother Lu quickly nodded and enviously said, "The elder is very important. Junior brother should quickly go." Wang Lin looked calm on the surface, but his heart was full of doubts. Why did Elder Sun personally come to find him? With these questions in mind, Wang Lin slowly walked toward the main courtyard. Along the way, he analyzed all kinds of possibilities, but in the end, he was still confused. Could it be that he found out I have the mysterious bead? Wang Lin paused and pondered for a while. If he didn't go, it would arouse suspicion. Fortunately, he pretended not to know. After all, he didn't have the bead on him. Thinking about this, he quickly walked forward. Not long after, he arrived at the main courtyard. After reporting his purpose, the white-clothed youth appeared again. He was a bit surprised and sarcastically said, "What, you want to go home to visit relatives again?" Wang Lin raised his eyebrows and was about to speak when Elder Sun's voice came from the distance. "Quickly bring him to me, no delays." The white-clothed youth curled his lips and looked at Wang Lin meaningfully. Without another word, he walked into the courtyard. Wang Lin didn't say anything and followed. After arriving at Elder Sun's residence, the white-clothed youth excused himself. Before he left, he revealed a strange expression and looked at Wang Lin once again. Wang Lin's heart was a bit nervous. He pushed open the gate of the courtyard. The moment he entered, he saw an old man walk out from a room in the garden. The old man's face was full of wrinkles. His eyes were bright and his expression was cold. He glanced at Wang Lin. Chapter 16. Today the third watch is over. With this one glance, Wang Lin suddenly felt like his entire body was transparent, completely seen through by the other party. The old man frowned. He didn't find anything strange about Wang Lin. He asked in a deep voice, "Wang Lin, when did you come back?" Wang Lin's heart was pounding when the other party looked at him. He quickly said, Disciple came back last night. This morning I heard from Senior Brother Lu that you were looking for me, so I immediately came over. Elder Son's face was gloomy. Without saying a word, he grabbed Wang Lin, took a step forward. Suddenly a seven-colored auspicious cloud appeared, went straight to Wang Lin's residence. The speed was too fast. Wang Lin even felt like he was suffocating. Luckily it didn't take long before they arrived at his residence. After throwing Wang Lin to the side, Elder Son used his divine sense to scan the room. Huh! Elder Son's body moved. He came to Wang Lin's bedside. His big hand reached under the bed and took out the gourd containing the spring water. Wang Lin's expression was normal, but his heart skipped a beat. His mind raced, searching for an excuse. Elder Son carefully looked for a long time. His expression changed slightly. After a while he stared at Wang Lin. He said in a low voice, "Wang Lin, what is in this gourd?" Wang Lin quickly played dumb. "Elder, this gourd contains spring water from the mountain. This spring water is magical. Every time I feel tired, I drink it and immediately feel refreshed. When I was young, I read in a book that immortal things are good. I didn't expect even the spring water to be so magical. Elder, if you want this spring water, the chore office has 10 large vats, the ones as big as the house. I brought them from the mountain." Elder Son opened the gourd lid, put it to his nose and sniffed. Suddenly his expression changed. He hurriedly said, "Who asked you about the spring water? Tell me, where did you find this gourd? Quickly say it." Wang Lin was stunned. He asked dumbly, "Elder, is there a problem with this gourd? When I was fetching water, I saw it floating down upstream. I thought it was pretty good, so I fished it out." Elder Son narrowed his eyes and looked deeply at Wang Lin. He touched the gourd in his hand and thought to himself, "This gourd is filled with spiritual energy, and the spring water inside has been soaked in it. Although an ordinary person wouldn't be able to absorb it, they would still feel refreshed." He wasn't lying about this, but it would be a waste for him to use it. If he used it to concoct pills, the effects would be quite good. As for the withering of the blue thread grass and the violet night flower, it's very likely that it's related to this gourd. Perhaps there's some kind of mutually reinforcing and restraining principle between them. However, all of this will have to wait until we test it out. Thinking about this, his expression suddenly changed. He carefully looked at the gourd, and with a straight face, he gloomily stared at Wang Lin and said, "Wang Lin, how dare you lie to an elder? It seems that you've had enough of the Hengyu sect." Wang Lin's face revealed a puzzled expression and he quickly said, "Elder, I didn't lie to you. The chore room really does have 10 large vats of spring water." Without waiting for him to finish, Elder Son was so angry that he laughed and said, "You're still playing dumb with me? I'm asking about this gourd. From the looks of it, this gourd was recently broken, yet you said you picked it up from the spring water. Wang Lin, I'll give you one last chance. Tell me where you found this gourd, otherwise, I'll kick you out of the Hengyu sect today." Wang Lin's face was filled with anger. He revealed an expression of desperation and loudly said, "Fine, I'll leave. In the Hengyu sect, other than fetching water every day, I don't have anything else to do. Plus, with 10 large vats of water, I often don't even get to eat once a week. If it wasn't for the sweet potatoes my mother brought me, I would have already starved to death. This isn't cultivation, this is purely suffering. It wasn't easy for me to fish this gourd out from the water. If you want it, then just take it. Why are you saying I lied to you? Whether or not this gourd has any roots, what does it have to do with me? Maybe someone else broke it off and threw it into the spring water. You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask?" Elder Son looked at the remaining sweet potatoes in his luggage, and then looked at the gourd in his hand. He pondered for a while and sneered in his heart. He thought, "This gourd is mine, but stealing an honorary disciple's treasure and forcing him to leave. If this gets out, it will be too ugly. The old man's reputation in the sect will be ruined, and if the other disciples find out about this, they will definitely come to divide it up. I don't have the ability to steal it. I can't let them know about this. Plus, this kid still hasn't told me the truth, so there must be more than one gourd. If I get all of them, my alchemy cultivation will definitely increase by a lot. Thinking about this, he pondered for a while and immediately put on a surprised expression. He sighed and said, "You've suffered a lot. You haven't been able to eat for a week. I didn't know about this before, but now that I know, I'll definitely take care of it. Honorary disciples are also disciples of the Heng Yu sect." After he finished speaking, he saw that Wang Lin was still angry. He sneered in his heart but said kindly, "Wang Lin, I want this gourd, but I won't mistreat you. Are you willing to be my servant?" Wang Lin said in a muffled voice, "I don't want to. A servant is a servant. If my father finds out I'm a servant, he'll beat me to death." Elder son almost couldn't control his temper. He wanted to beat his father to death with a palm strike. Although he was the weakest of the second-generation disciples, if he said he wanted to accept children in the sect, all the disciples in the sect would have to do everything in their power to fight for him. Suppressing his anger, he said, "Fine, I'll accept you as a disciple. I'll go talk to the head about this. You pack your luggage and wait in my garden." After he finished speaking, he waved his sleeves and walked out of Wang Lin's room. He stepped on a cloud and went straight to where the head was. After he left, Wang Lin's face suddenly became gloomy. He sneered in his heart. This old man had bad intentions. He wanted to accept him as a disciple, but in reality, he wanted to get more gourd. Wang Lin pondered a little, then chuckled. It was just a gourd. There were many of them in the mountains. He could just soak them in the bead. Now that he could become an inner disciple, he had to take this opportunity to cultivate. Thinking about this, he was very excited. He packed his luggage and left a lot of sweet potatoes for Zhang Hu. Then he slowly walked toward the main courtyard. This time, he didn't sign up. He walked directly into the main courtyard. The white-clothed youth was sitting cross-legged on a big tree in the corner. He looked down and didn't stop Wang Lin. He had just received the news from the head that Martial Uncle Sun had accepted Wang Lin as a disciple. He sneered and said to himself, "A trash master accepting a trash disciple." Chapter 17. Zhou Yu exploded, the first chapter. After waiting in the garden for a short while, Elder Sun came back with a dark face, his heart full of anger. Just now, when he was talking to the sect leader about this matter, he was mocked by his fellow disciples. He thought to himself, "Wait until I get my hands on the gourd, I'll refine it into a pill and consume it. At that time my cultivation will increase greatly. Let's see if you can still laugh then." The moment he entered the garden and saw Wang Lin, he became very angry and shouted, "Wang Lin, from now on, you are my Sundaju's disciple. From now on, you have to be serious about cultivation. Don't bring shame to your teacher's name." As soon as he finished speaking, he threw out a small flat bag and said, "This is the identification of an inner disciple. It is also a storage bag. You can store many things, clothes, cultivation manuals are all inside. Take a look yourself." Wang Lin hurriedly picked it up. His heart filled with excitement, the expectant gaze of his parents appeared in his mind. He can finally cultivate. This time, he sincerely called Sundaju master. Sundaju grunted. His eyes turned and said, "From now on, you will live in the room at the back. Without my permission, you cannot go out." As soon as he finished speaking, he picked up a stone from the ground and threw it towards the garden door behind him. A purple light flashed and the stone immediately shattered, turning into a fine powder that dissipated in the air. After doing all this, Sundaju sneered at Wang Lin, no longer paying attention to him. He walked into the house. Wang Lin's pupils contracted, his heart filled with shock. Clutching the storage bag, he turned around and walked into his room. Inside, besides a small bed, there was nothing else. Wang Lin did not mind. He sat on the bed and examined the storage bag in his hand. The gray bag did not seem to have anything special about it. Wang Lin picked it up and poured it on the ground. Suddenly a few things fell out, a red inner disciple's clothes and a thread-bound booklet. Wang Lin's face lit up. He picked up the booklet. His heart was filled with excitement. He flipped it open. The first page wrote, 3 chapters of qi condensation. Deep into the night, he lit an oil lamp and closed the booklet. He now had a better understanding of immortal cultivation. The 3 volumes of qi condensation talked about 3 levels, the most basic of technique. It was stated that the qi condensation stage had 15 levels. Only after reaching the 3rd level could one obtain the Heart Sutra. The so-called qi condensation was about inhaling and exhaling the spiritual qi of heaven and earth, accumulating the spiritual qi into the body, changing the mortal body, and laying the foundation for the future. At the same time, this was also the place that tested a cultivator's talent the most. If the body's spirit root was sufficient, the speed at which it absorbed the spirit energy of heaven and earth would be very fast, and the process of cultivation would naturally be much faster. However, if one's talent was ordinary, then it was very likely that they would never be able to cultivate beyond the 3rd level, or even the 1st level. The 3 volumes of qi condensation were like a priceless treasure to Wang Lin. He immediately committed the first 3 volumes to memory, then sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Following the instructions of the technique, he began to breathe. The so-called long 1 referred to the long inhalation time. As for the short 3, it referred to the exhalation time being only 1/3 of the inhalation time. Using this method of breathing that defied common sense, he was able to absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth into his body as quickly as possible. According to the manual, when a cultivator breathed for the first time, they would feel like ants crawling inside their body. This was a sign that the spiritual qi was entering their body. Don't be nervous, relax your body, and imagine yourself turning into nothingness, becoming one with the heaven and earth. After a long time, Wang Lin helplessly discovered that not only did he not feel anything, but this strange breathing method made it hard for him to breathe. Wang Lin sighed. He knew that the inner sect disciples were all talented people, and this manual was meant for them to read. His talent was average, so naturally he couldn't compare to them in terms of cultivation. However, he wasn't discouraged. After taking a few deep breaths, he continued to breathe. The night passed slowly. The next morning, Wang Lin still didn't feel the spiritual qi entering his body. He hadn't slept the entire night, and his head felt heavy. He crawled out of bed, pushed open the door, and walked out. There was a light breeze outside, and the fragrance of herbs assailed his nostrils. He took a few deep breaths, and his tiredness disappeared. He missed the spring water gourd, and thought that if he drank a few mouthfuls of spring water, he wouldn't be so tired. But now was not the time to act rashly. He was very confident in the place where he hid the mysterious bead and the dew gourd. It was a remote place that he found after searching almost half of the mountain. Even if others happened to pass by, they would never find the place where he hid the treasures. Walking around the medicine garden, Wang Lin found an empty place, sat down cross-legged, and continued to breathe. After a while, he felt a very weak feeling of ants crawling. Wang Lin was startled, and was immediately surprised. He was about to continue, but suddenly his master's voice sounded in his ears. "Wang Lin, what are you doing? Quickly come out, I'm telling you, in the future, you are not allowed to breathe in the medicine garden." Wang Lin opened his eyes and saw Sun Deju staring at him with a gloomy expression, so he silently got up and left the medicine garden. Sun Deju coldly snorted and said, "You're really good at finding the right place. My herb garden has the densest spiritual qi here. If these precious herbs die, your little life won't be enough to compensate for it." Wang Lin looked at Sun Deju and respectfully said, "This disciple doesn't know, I will never breathe here again." Sun Deju's expression slightly relaxed, and his eyes suddenly turned, and suddenly said, "But if you can get me another gourd, although I can't let you cultivate in the medicine garden, I can give you a low-grade spirit stone. With this thing, it will be a lot easier for you to condense qi." Wang Lin lowered his head, and a mocking expression flashed in his eyes, and said, "This disciple can go to the mountain spring again. If my luck is good, I might be able to pick up another one." Sun Dezhu pondered for a while, his eyes flashed and nodded. "You can go take a look, but remember, as long as you bring me another gourd, I will give you a low-grade spirit stone." Wang Lin looked up at Sun Dezhu and asked, "Master, are you serious? If I bring back the gourd, you will give me a spirit stone?" Sun Dezhu's face was full of joy and quickly said, "Yes, as long as I see the gourd, I will definitely give you a low-grade spirit stone." Wang Lin sneered in his heart, but on the surface, he respectfully nodded. Sun Dezhu's right hand formed a seal, and his mouth muttered something. He waved his arm, and suddenly the garden gate creaked open. He touched his beard and said with a smile, Come back quickly." Chapter 18. Today was the second night watch, there would be more in a while. Wang Lin walked out of the garden without a word. Along the way, he was wearing the red inner disciple robe, which attracted the attention of all the honorary disciples. They all had looks of envy on their faces, but when they saw him, their expressions quickly turned into looks of deep jealousy. Yesterday, the sect leader announced that he was a new inner disciple. He became a nominal disciple by committing suicide. I wonder how he managed to become an inner disciple this time. He's really lucky. Is there even a need to think about it? If it were up to me, he might have done all sorts of despicable things to gain the elder's favor and be accepted as a disciple. This kind of person is really too despicable. That's right. Look at how silly he is. I reckon that even if he becomes an inner disciple, he'll be the last. Cultivation isn't that easy. This kind of trash, even if he became an inner disciple with some tricks, we don't need to care. Trash is trash no matter where they go. They will be looked down upon. Damn it, I've been a nominal disciple for 4 years, and I've never seen such a shameless guy. What kind of world is this? Why would the elder like him? Which part of me isn't better than him? So King frustrating. You've only been here for 4 years, I've been here for 12. But we both climbed up bit by bit with our own abilities. Inner disciples often compete with each other. Let's just wait and see. The discussions entered his ears. Wang Lin glanced around coldly. He saw all kinds of faces. He was not strong enough now, but once he reached a certain level, he would take revenge on these people one by one. Not long after, he arrived at the east gate and followed the path to the mountain spring. He sprinkled the spring water on his face, and the cold feeling immediately appeared. He felt refreshed and drank a few more mouthfuls. Only then did he sit down at a moderate pace and began to breathe. On a big tree not far away, Elder Sun frowned and squatted on it. He scolded in a low voice, "Bastard, he said he was looking for the gourd, but he's really waiting for it to float down from upstream." After Wang Lin left, he immediately followed him quietly, wanting to see where this disciple was going to find the gourd. In the end, he didn't expect Wang Lin to sit beside the spring and cultivate. There was more spiritual energy here than in the room. Although Wang Lin hadn't had the same feeling as he had in the medicine garden, he came to the conclusion that the qi condensation stage was simply a matter of how much spiritual energy one had. Although his talent was lacking and he couldn't absorb much spiritual energy at a time, he could make up for it with time. In fact, Wang Lin's guess was very accurate. The so-called qi condensation stage was exactly this. Spiritual energy entered the body and changed the body, laying a good foundation for the future foundation establishment. Wang Lin continued to cultivate until noon. He loosened his hands and feet, but the feeling of ants crawling on him still didn't appear. He stood beside the spring and looked around. He thought that Sun Daju would never let him out for no reason. He must have been following him and must be monitoring nearby. He rubbed his stomach and walked back to the sect. Sun Daju was furious. He accompanied Wang Lin foolishly in the tree for the whole morning and muttered to himself, "Bastard, the old man will waste time with you. If 1 day doesn't succeed, then 1 month. If 1 month doesn't succeed, then 1 year. I don't believe that you only have 1 gourd." After that, he jumped up and returned to the medicine garden before Wang Lin. After a while, Wang Lin came back unhurriedly. Sun Daju touched his beard and forced a smile. "Disciple, did you find the gourd this morning?" Wang Lin sighed, shook his head and said, "Master, I've been waiting by the spring all morning, but I didn't see any gourds. I'll go again in the afternoon. Maybe I'll be lucky enough to get one." Sun Daju thought, "You've been meditating with your eyes closed all morning. Even if a gourd floated in front of you, it would be strange if you could see it." However, he said kindly, "Very good. Wang Lin, you go eat first. We'll go again in the afternoon." Wang Lin said, "Oh." He walked into his room and saw that there was an extra table with 4 dishes and a soup on it. It was a combination of meat and vegetables. He didn't ask when the food would be delivered. He quickly ate a few mouthfuls and drank all the soup. Then he patted his stomach and lay down on the bed to take a short nap. Sun Daju's body appeared like a ghost. His face was gloomy and his eyes were vicious. He thought, although the old man can't put poison in your food because he's afraid of being discovered, he can put some medicine that will hinder your absorption of spiritual energy. Your talent is mediocre. With the addition of the old man's medicine, you'll never be able to reach the 3rd level of qi condensation. This way, the old man can eat you for the rest of your life. 2 hours later, Wang Lin woke up. He tidied up the wrinkles on his clothes and walked out of the garden. He went to the mountain spring and continued to cultivate. Time passed. The sun was about to set. Wang Lin stood up and walked around the spring. Without a word, he walked into the forest. Sun Daju, who was sitting on a big tree, immediately became spirited. He quietly followed. Wang Lin slowly turned left and right. Along the way, he looked left and right. Suddenly, his face lit up. He came to a climbing vine full of wild gourds. He picked a small gourd that looked good. He pulled it down and carried it in his hand. After he left, Sun Daju came back with a puzzled look. No matter how he looked at the gourds, they looked very ordinary. After thinking for a long time, he picked a few and memorized the location. Then he disappeared. Wang Lin returned to the herb garden along the mountain road. He directly filtered out the gossip of the nominal disciples on the way. When he entered the herb garden, he saw Sun Daju staring at him with a gloomy face. Wang Lin immediately stood aside respectfully. He handed over the gourd in his hand and said, "Master, I was lucky this afternoon. Although I didn't pick up the gourd in the spring, I just walked around the mountain and saw a lot of them. What do you think of this? I looked at it for a long time. This is the gourd I had before." Sun Daju almost couldn't control his temper. He suppressed his anger and squeezed out a stiff smile. He took the gourd and threw it aside without looking at it. He said to Wang Lin word by word, "The gourd I want is full of spiritual qi like the one you had before. What's the use of giving me this wild gourd?" In the last few words, he couldn't control his temper and roared angrily. He felt wronged in his heart. He had been fooled by this kid for the whole day. He had been monitored for a day in vain. In the end, he was stupid enough to pick a few gourds back. Chapter 19. Today was the 3rd night watch, and he had finally made it to Chidian. Surprise! When he thought of those gourds, he couldn't help but feel angry. He had studied those gourds for a long time. Along the way, he looked left and right, and they were clearly extremely ordinary. He even deliberately removed the seeds from the gourds and filled them with spring water. On the way, he was seen by a few of his senior brothers, and they all laughed at him. Wang Lin laughed coldly in his heart, but on the outside, he said, "I don't know what spiritual energy is either. I heard you say that you will give me spirit stones if I find the gourd. Why don't you tell me what spiritual energy is?" Sundaju felt a little dizzy. He looked at Wang Lin for a long time. For the first time, he had doubts. Were there many gourds like he had guessed, or was there only one and this dumb kid picked it up by accident? After thinking for a while, he thought that what Wang Lin said was reasonable. Only after reaching the first level of qi condensation would one be able to sense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Thinking about this, he regretted putting medicine in Wang Lin's food to hinder his cultivation. This dumb kid's talent wasn't good. Reaching the first level of qi condensation was already very difficult. Now, with the addition of the medicine, he would need at least 30 to 50 years to reach it. Sighing, Sundaju was disheartened. However, he was unwilling to give up. After hesitating for a while, he took out a low-quality spirit stone and threw it to Wang Lin. "This is the spirit stone I promised you. Take it and cultivate. Get to the first level of qi condensation as soon as possible." Wang Lin quickly took it, thanked him, and returned to his room. Sundaju stood there in a daze. After a long time, he let out a long sigh and said to himself, "If I don't give up the child, I won't be able to catch the wolf. I'll have to use the last method to see if he's lying. Let him reach the first level as soon as possible. Once he reaches the first level, he will be considered a cultivator. I will use the soul-searching technique on him even if I have to regress a level. This way, I won't go against the laws of heaven and earth that forbid cultivators from using the soul-searching technique on mortals until they reach the core formation stage." The soul-searching technique was a simple immortal technique, but it was too vicious. After the soul-searching technique was used, there was a 90% chance that the person would die immediately. The best result would be a lifetime of dementia. However, it was also because of this that the soul-searching technique was inexplicably restricted. It couldn't be used on mortals before reaching the core formation stage, or else they would feel the same way. If they were both cultivators, then there would be no such restriction. However, they could only use it 3 times in their lifetime, and every time they used it, their cultivation would regress. Wang Lin sat cross-legged in his room, examining the immortal stone in his hand. No matter how he looked at it, he couldn't see anything extraordinary about it. However, as he held it in his hand, his mind became very clear. He closed his eyes and began to do breathing exercises. One night passed. Wang Lin let out a sigh. There was still no sign of spiritual energy entering his body. He wryly smiled. Just at that moment, the door was pushed open. Sundaju walked in with a bowl of black liquid. "Drink it!" Wang Lin was startled. He looked at it cautiously but did not take it. He asked, "Master, what is this?" When Sundaju saw the expression on Wang Lin's face, his anger soared. He roared, "Why would I harm you? I told you to drink it, so drink it. If it wasn't for the fact that I wanted you to reach the first level of qi condensation as soon as possible, do you think I would have stayed up all night and wasted so many precious ingredients to concoct this medicine?" Wang Lin hesitated for a moment. When he saw Sundaju's unfriendly expression, he picked up the stone bowl and held his breath. After he drank it, a scorching heat rose up from his stomach and spread throughout his body. He suddenly felt his mouth go dry, as if there was a fire burning inside of him. His vision darkened, and the stone bowl in his hand fell to the ground. He felt dizzy, as if he was about to fall asleep. "Hurry up and do breathing exercises. I'll help you absorb it." Sundaju unwillingly placed his hand on Wang Lin's chest. A cool and refreshing feeling came from his chest. Wang Lin's mind became clear, and he immediately started breathing exercises. Sun Dazhu looked at the stone bowl on the ground with a pained expression. He gritted his teeth and took out a few low-grade spirit stones from his storage bag. He placed them on Wang Lin's left and right. He thought to himself, "Kid, I've spent a lot of money this time. You'll have to pay me back in the future." Not long after, Sun Dazhu felt like ants crawling up his body. He could clearly feel that Wang Lin's body was slowly condensing the spiritual energy of the herbs. His face lit up. But at this moment, a wave of turbid energy quickly dispersed from Wang Lin's body. It easily dissolved the spiritual energy that was about to be condensed. Sun Dazhu's face turned bitter. He recognized the source of the turbid energy. It was the spirit-dissolving grass that he had fed Wang Lin yesterday. He tried many times, until all the spiritual energy in Wang Lin's body had dissipated. He still could not condense a single strand of spiritual energy. Sun Dazhu let out a long sigh. He let go of his hand and stared at Wang Lin. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. Wang Lin opened his eyes. He felt his whole body was light and extremely comfortable. He was about to say some words of gratitude. He didn't expect Sun Dazhu to bitterly wave his sleeve and leave the room without looking back. Wang Lin was startled. He couldn't figure out what Sun Dazhu was thinking. He stretched his body and walked out of the room. He loudly said to Sun Dazhu, "Master, I'm going to the spring to see how my luck is today." Sun Dazhu didn't speak, but the door of the garden silently opened. Wang Lin quickly walked out. As soon as he left, Sun Dazhu immediately followed him secretly. A month quickly passed. During this month, Wang Lin went to the spring every day to meditate. Sun Dazhu secretly monitored him every time. Day after day of disappointment, Sun Dazhu gradually became disheartened. For a month, he had to give some herbs to Wang Lin every day, but he couldn't condense any spiritual energy. Sun Dazhu's temper became more and more irritable day by day. The most important thing was that Sun Dazhu found that the spiritual energy in the gourd he obtained before was dissipating little by little. In just a month, the spiritual energy had disappeared. The spring water inside was still the same after being poured out. There was no spiritual energy at all. In the end, the gourd became no different from an ordinary wild gourd. Sun Dazhu couldn't help but be disappointed. After careful analysis, he thought of a guess. The gourd itself was not extraordinary, but it had undergone some special changes, which caused the spiritual energy to be rich. Presumably, Wang Lin obtained it by chance. The possibility of him having other gourds was not big. The more he thought about this guess, the more he felt that it was correct. He couldn't help but feel distressed. In the past month, he did almost nothing. Every day, besides monitoring, he brewed medicine. Now all his efforts were in vain. He angrily called Wang Lin and reprimanded him. Finally, he waved his sleeve and expelled him from the main courtyard. Now, whenever he saw Wang Lin, his heart would be filled with anger. Out of sight, out of mind, out of mind. It didn't take long for him to completely forget about his disciple. In his opinion, although Wang Lin had been taking medicine for the past month, it would take him at least 8 to 10 years to reach the first level of qi condensation. Unless he hardened his heart and continued to give it to his disciple, regardless of the loss of medicinal herbs. Chapter 20. Wang Lin was also happy. Although he was kicked out of the main courtyard and heard a lot of ridicule from the honorary disciples, he didn't take it to heart. In this month, he had a general understanding of cultivation. There were 5 stages: qi condensation, foundation establishment, core formation, nascent soul, and soul formation. In the entire Hengyu sect, there were only 2 core formation experts. They lived in the back mountain where the spiritual energy was the densest. They closed themselves up and never participated in anything other than sect affairs. In the sect, there were no more than 10 foundation establishment cultivators. They were the backbone of the sect and enjoyed special privileges such as immortal stones and magic treasures. Aside from these people, most of the others were at the qi condensation stage. For example, Sun Dazhu was only at the 5th layer. Cultivation was very difficult and required a large amount of time. If one's talent was lacking, a few decades of life would not be enough for cultivation. The qi condensation stage was already so difficult, let alone the foundation establishment stage and above. Aside from having sufficient spiritual energy, one must also have great opportunities and comprehension. Not a single one could be lacking. Wang Lin knew the importance of spiritual energy and was eager to get the mysterious bead back. Although he still couldn't absorb spiritual energy into his body, he believed that as long as he drank the spring water soaked in the bead, he would be able to speed up the process. After all, qi condensation was just accumulating spiritual energy. From Sun Dazhu's concern, the spring water soaked in the bead should be very rich in spiritual qi. Thinking of this, he was very excited. Not to mention the spring water, he hid 3 gourds of dew in the place where he hid the bead. This thing must be rich in spiritual qi. If he drank it, it wouldn't be any worse than the pills he had been taking for a month. Therefore, Wang Lin was very happy to be able to leave the main courtyard and not be monitored by Sun Dazhu. As an inner disciple, although he didn't live in the main courtyard, he could still find a place to live in any of the 5 side courtyards. Wang Lin chose a place near the east gate in the fire courtyard. He found a remote house and lived there. Inner disciples had different privileges based on the color of their clothes. Wang Lin learned a lot about these things from Sun Dazhu. For example, on the 10th of every month, he could go to the main courtyard's pill room to get a low-quality spirit stone fragment and a qi-gathering pill to increase spiritual energy. After accumulating 10 fragments, they could go to their respective masters and exchange them for a complete piece of low-grade spirit stone. After Wang Lin tidied up his new residence, he did not immediately retrieve the mysterious bead. He was worried that Sun Dazhu would secretly monitor him, so as usual, he went to the spring during the day and meditated in his room at night. In fact, Sun Dazhu was unwilling to give up and continued to monitor him for more than 10 days. In the end, he completely gave up. 1 month later, Wang Lin left quietly one night. He went around the mountains and came to the place where he hid the gourd. He took the bead and the gourd back and put them in the storage pouch. No one could find anything wrong with them. After a few days of careful observation and finding nothing unusual, Wang Lin was relieved. He didn't go to the mountain spring during the day, but stayed at home all day to study the bead. Wang Lin touched the bead. At a glance, he saw that the number of clouds on the bead had increased from 7 to 9. The bead must have absorbed a lot of water due to the heavy humidity in the mountains. As for the 3 gourds, Wang Lin opened them one by one and found that the dew inside had become sticky. Especially the gourd that contained the morning dew, it was almost jelly-like. Wang Lin looked at the bead and then looked at the 3 gourds. Suddenly, an idea came to his mind. The mysterious bead needed water to increase the number of clouds. If he used the dew from the 3 gourds on the bead, would he be able to catalyze the appearance of the 10th cloud immediately? He was excited. The bead was not big. Now the 9 dense clouds on it almost covered the entire surface, leaving only a fingernail-sized space. Wang Lin analyzed that it was likely to be the location where the 10th cloud would appear. He pondered for a while. He wanted to know what would happen when the number of clouds above became 10. After all, from the appearance, there was no place for the 11th cloud. The 10th cloud was likely to be the last one. However, today was the day to go to the main courtyard to collect the spirit stones. Seeing that it was getting dark, Wang Lin carefully put the bead and the gourds into his bag of holding and walked out of his room. He was now very familiar with the paths in the sect. Before long, he arrived at the main courtyard. Taking advantage of the fact that it was not dark yet, he hurried to the alchemy room. Before he got close, he heard a familiar voice from afar. "Senior apprentice Sister Zhou, Master told me to cultivate in seclusion for 3 months to break through to the first level of qi condensation. But I've been thinking about you and couldn't calm down. I wanted to cultivate as fast as possible so I could see you. Finally, I finished the first level last night. I went to the mountains overnight to pick this flower for you. Look at how beautiful the petals are. There was a big snake guarding it. It took me a lot of effort to kill it. Look at my arm, it's injured." Wang Lin stopped and frowned. He sneered in his heart and calmly walked forward. At this time, a clear female voice came. "Senior apprentice Brother Wang, my family has been a traditional Chinese doctor for generations. This flower is clearly just an ordinary bright sun incense. When I went up the mountain, I saw quite a few, but this is the first time I've heard of a snake guarding it. If this is really the case, then our Hengyu sect will be filled with snakes. Senior apprentice Sister Zhou, don't believe him." At this time, Wang Lin walked into the garden of the alchemy room. He looked around and saw 4 people, 2 men and 2 women, all wearing red. One of the 2 men was handsome and had a dignified appearance. He had an awkward expression and was about to retort when he suddenly stared at the door with a look of disbelief. He cried out, "Wang Lin, why are you here? You should be at home doing carpentry with your father." "Wang Lin? Ah, you're Wang Lin, the one who relied on suicide to become an honorary disciple and flattered to become Marshal Uncle Sun's disciple. That's you." The girl next to him covered her mouth and exclaimed. She had a large braid, shiny black hair, and under her thick eyebrows was a pair of big, shiny black eyes. She looked quite beautiful. At this time, the other 2 people next to her also revealed a look of surprise. They kept looking at Wang Lin. The girl's face had a pair of beautiful eyes decorated with long eyelashes, like 2 crystal grapes. At this moment, her eyes were flashing with interest. Wang Lin's face was expressionless as he glanced at them. As soon as this girl spoke, he could tell that she was the girl who was mocking Wang Zhuo earlier. However, she looked a bit familiar. Wang Lin thought about it carefully and recognized her as the one who passed the talent test a few months ago. Since he recognized her, needless to say, the other girl must be the senior apprentice Sister Zhou that Wang Zhuo gave the flower to. Chapter 21. Today was the first night watch, so there was still time. As for the last man, he was slightly older, around 20 or 29 years old. He had a long face like a horse. His chin was raised high, his eyes rolled up, and his expression was filled with disdain. He said, "Junior apprentice Brother Wang, you've been in seclusion for so many months. You don't know that this period of time is the biggest joke in our Hengyu sect." Just like what junior apprentice Sister Su said, this Wang Lin used these shameless methods to become an inner disciple. When Wang Zhuo heard this, he laughed mockingly. "You really scared me just now. So that's how you got in. But with your talent, you'll never reach the first level of qi condensation. Why did you come here to embarrass yourself and smear the name of the Wang clan?" "Junior apprentice Brother Wang, what you said is wrong. Although talent is important, perseverance is also key. Cultivating to become an immortal is something that defies the heavens. If you don't have perseverance, no matter how good your talent is, it's useless." The girl named Zhou blinked her eyes and said in a euphemistic voice, "Senior apprentice Brother Wang is right. This Wang Lin looks stupid. He doesn't look like a cultivator at all." The girl named Su took a few steps closer to Wang Zhuo and seized the opportunity to speak for him. Wang Lin chuckled. He finally understood that the relationship between the people in front of him was quite complicated. Needless to say, Wang Zhuo liked the girl named Zhou. As for the girl named Su, She seemed to have a crush on Wang Zhuo. That's why she tried so hard to destroy him. His laughter caused Wang Zhuo to be dissatisfied. He snorted and said, Wang Lin, I advise you to leave the Hengyu sect. Otherwise, during the inner disciple competition at the end of the year, even if you don't die, you'll be crippled. Wang Lin had heard from Sun Dazhu that at the end of every year, there was a competition similar to the general exam. The winner would receive a magic treasure. The competition was divided into 2 levels. One was for all the inner disciples to compete for the top 10. The other was for all the new disciples to compete for the top 10. He carelessly curled his lips and said, You don't have to worry about me. Whether I'm crippled or dead, it has nothing to do with you. Wang Zhuo sneered and said, I'm only doing it because we're relatives. Since you don't appreciate my kindness, don't blame me for not showing mercy in the competition. After saying that, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Wang Zhuo has looked down on Wang Lin's family since he was a child. Although he has never seen them before, he has heard a lot from his father. Especially when his father told him that Wang Lin's father had a sweet mouth and coaxed his grandfather to be biased. Not only did he give the other a large portion of the family property, but he also arrogantly and despotically insulted his father. Fortunately, his relatives had sharp eyes and helped his father take back the family property. Therefore, in his heart, he had always felt that Wang Lin and his family were the shame of the Wang family. What the father was like, the son would definitely be like. Although he vaguely felt that things were not as his father had said after he grew up, he had always been arrogant and conceited. Sometimes he even looked down on his father, let alone others. The girl surnamed Su was startled and whispered to Wang Zhuo, Are you relatives? The other 2 were also surprised. This was the first time they had heard that the 2 were relative. The girl surnamed Su saw Wang Zhuo's expression and quickly said, Brother Wang Zhuo, he doesn't understand your kindness. Don't be angry. You are a good person and smarter than him. Don't expect him to understand your kindness immediately. When he suffers in the future, he will naturally understand your kindness. We also have such relatives in our family. In fact, every family is the same. It is impossible for everyone to be as good as you. In fact, I understand your feelings. You hate iron for not being steel, right? Wang Zhuo's face was a little red when he heard the girl surnamed Su. He glared at her fiercely. He couldn't tell whether this woman was mocking him or really speaking for him. When Wang Lin heard the girl's words, he suddenly laughed and said, Wang Zhuo, it seems that I really misunderstood you. Well, I, Wang Lin, will remember your kindness. Thank you. As he was speaking, the door of the pill room suddenly opened and a young man wearing a small gown walked out. The young man looked like a tiger and had a clever expression. It was Wang Hao. After he walked out, he loudly coughed to attract everyone's attention. He revealed a proud expression and said, Today, the spirit-seizing pill hasn't been refined yet. You wait here for a while. After the master finishes refining, I will call you in one by one. Wang Zhuo stared at Wang Hao, his teeth itching. However, he didn't dare to offend him right now. After all, Wang Hao was the disciple of the pill room's 3rd apprentice brother. He was responsible for all the trivial matters of the pill room. If he offended him and the 3rd apprentice brother pursued the matter in the future, his monthly salary would be reduced by a lot. After Wang Hao finished speaking, his eyes swept around. When he saw Wang Lin, he revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. He quickly pulled Wang Lin to the side and whispered, Brother Taizhu, congratulations on becoming an inner disciple. I have heard about your matters. I wanted to go talk to you, but this place is too damn tight. You don't need to take other people's words to heart. Wait until your immortal technique is successful, then show those who look down on you. Wang Lin's heart warmed. He smiled and said, Wang Hao, thank you. Wang Hao sighed and said, That day at the mansion, I wanted to speak up for you, but my father glared at me. It seemed like he didn't want me to get involved. Brother Taiju, don't mind him. Wang Lin shook his head and said, it's all in the past. There's no point in bringing it up. Right now, I want to focus on cultivation and reach the first level of qi condensation as soon as possible. Wang Hao's eyes flickered. When no one was paying attention, he took out an item and stuffed it into Wang Lin's hand. He winked at him. At this moment, a cold voice came from the pill room. Alchemy boy, why aren't you back yet? Wang Hao answered and quickly ran back to the pill room. Wang Lin tightly gripped the item in his hand. He glanced at it and saw 3 sparkling pills. He quietly put them into his bag of holding. Not caring about the dirt on the floor, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. As for the other 4, aside from the man in his 20s, who looked at Wang Lin with a strange expression, then sat down to cultivate like him, the other 3 stood to the side. Wang Zhua had a fawning expression on his face as he whispered to the girl named Zhou. The girl named Su had an angry expression and would occasionally interrupt. Time passed slowly. Darkness covered the land. The moment the moon rose, the door to the pill room opened again. Wang Hao walked out, looking exhausted. He held a tray in his hand. There were 5 pieces of low-grade spirit stone fragments and 5 sparkling and translucent pills inside. Everyone went up to receive their share. Wang Lin was the last. After he took his share, he smiled at Wang Hao, cupped his hands, and left. He remembered Wang Hao's friendship in his heart. The 3 pills that Wang Hao had secretly stuffed into his hand were spirit-seizing pills. Chapter 22. It was not easy to be on the list of new books. He had never asked for a vote before. This time, he had to be thick-skinned and hope it would not fall. There was still one more time in the afternoon. After returning to his room, Wang Lin immediately closed the door. He did not take the 4 qi-gathering pills but put them in his storage bag. Now he was going to conduct an experiment with the mysterious bead. Cautiously taking out the bead and the gourd, Wang Lin pondered for a while. His face was cloudy and he was weighing the gains and losses in his mind. The dew was the focus of his future practice. Without dew, his practice would be slow. However, the clouds on the mysterious bead held his curiosity. After a long time, he made up his mind. He could accumulate more dew, but it would take some time. Once the 10th cloud appeared on the bead, there might be some changes. Maybe after soaking in the spring water, his spiritual qi would increase to an incredible level. Thinking of this, he immediately took out the best morning dew gourd and prepared a stone bowl. Took him a long time to slowly pour the jelly-like liquid out of the gourd. After a while, the dew was gone. The stone bowl was half full of green liquid. A fragrance gradually spread out. When Wang Lin smelled it, he suddenly felt refreshed and comfortable. He was worried that the smell would attract the attention of other people in the sect, so he immediately threw the bead into the bowl and carefully observed it. After a long time, the liquid decreased a little. Wang Lin was a little disappointed. He thought he could catalyze it immediately. Fortunately, the fragrance immediately dissipated after the stone bead was thrown into the bowl. Wang Lin pondered for a while, put the stone bowl under the bed, sat cross-legged on the bed, and began to meditate with the low-grade spirit stone in his hand. His 1 long and 3 short breaths gradually calmed down. Although he had not guided the spirit into his body for the past 2 months, he was no longer out of breath after using this breathing method for a short period of time. Now, he was used to this breathing method. Even if he was not meditating, he would usually breathe like this. The night passed. In the morning, Wang Lin opened his eyes and quickly took out the stone bowl from under the bed. He found that the liquid had decreased by half, but the 10th cloud had not appeared on the bead. He wasn't discouraged. After putting the stone bowl back on the table, He hesitated for a moment before taking out a chi-gathering pill from his storage bag and swallowing it. A warm current immediately appeared in his body. During the month that Wang Lin stayed at Sun Daju's place, he had to go through this process every day. He was very familiar with it and quickly began to breathe. When night fell, he slowly exhaled a long white breath. He frowned and said to himself with a wry smile, "This chi-gathering pill is actually similar to Sun Daju's medicinal soup. It contains some herbs filled with spiritual energy. Every time I eat it, my body feels comfortable and full of spirit. Even the feeling of hunger disappears. Unfortunately, I can't condense any spiritual energy." He sighed. Wang Zhuoke had reached the first level of qi condensation in 3 months. Wang Lin didn't show any abnormality on the surface, but he was quite moved. Talent was indeed the key to cultivation. But Wang Lin's personality didn't allow him to easily give up. He secretly thought that he had the mysterious bead, so he didn't lack spiritual energy. Although he couldn't condense spiritual energy now, he would naturally succeed after a long time. Wang Lin bit his lower lip and took a deep breath. He took out the stone bowl from under the bed and looked at it. There was only a little liquid left, but the 10th cloud had not appeared on the bead. He immediately took out the night dew gourd and poured out the liquid inside. This time there was a little more liquid, so there was still a little left. Wang Lin drank the rest of the liquid in one gulp and continued to cultivate. This time, the warm current rising in his body was thicker than before. It was almost tangible and slowly flowed through his body. The feeling of thirst immediately appeared. Wang Lin gritted his teeth and breathed according to the method of 1 long and 3 short breaths. Not long after, Wang Lin felt that something was wrong. The warm current in his body didn't slowly dissipate like before. Instead, as he breathed, it gathered more and more, and a swelling pain appeared all over his body. Wang Lin had an illusion that he was like a balloon that was constantly expanding and had reached the limit of his body. Horrified, Wang Lin quickly stopped breathing, but the swelling pain was still there. He opened his eyes and was immediately horrified to find that all the blood vessels in his body were bulging, as if there were ferocious green worms attached to the surface of his body. It was a shocking sight. Wang Lin didn't know that the medicinal soup he had eaten before didn't actually contain much spiritual energy. Even if he absorbed the spiritual energy around him according to the method of 1 long and 3 short breaths, the spiritual energy added together couldn't compare to the speed at which his body was losing spiritual energy because of the lack of spiritual roots. In addition, at every critical moment the spirit transformation grass would take effect, so he had never succeeded in condensing spiritual energy in his body. But now it was different. The spiritual energy contained in the dew he drank far exceeded the medicinal soup. It had reached an incredible level, far exceeding the speed at which his spiritual roots were losing spiritual energy. If he didn't breathe at this time, it would be fine. After a long time, the spiritual energy would slowly dissipate, but once he breathed, it was the same as adding oil to the fire. Knowing that he had caused trouble, he didn't know how to deal with it. He could only watch as the blood vessels in his body bulged, on the verge of collapse. At this moment, a thought entered his mind like lightning. Wang Lin didn't have time to think. He clenched his teeth and immediately breathed according to the method of 1 short and 3 long breath. In his mind, since breathing normally was to absorb spiritual energy, then breathing normally was to release spiritual energy. Wang Lin's guess was more or less correct. This method of breathing normally was known by everyone in the cultivation world because it was the early preparation for dispersing one's cultivation and recultivating. As he breathed, a trace of spiritual energy came out from every pore in his body. The moment it appeared, it was like it was being sucked under the bed and absorbed by the stone bead. As time slowly passed, the swelling feeling in Wang Lin's body gradually dissipated. The blue blood vessels on the surface of his body also slowly calmed down. At this time, what was being emitted from his body was no longer spiritual energy, but a trace of foul gas. This gas was not absorbed by the stone bead, but instead dissipated in the air. Wang Lin, by chance, had completely forced the spirit transformation grass out of his body. If he wanted to force out the spirit transformation grass, there were only two methods. The first was to use a large amount of spiritual energy to wear it down bit by bit until it was completely dissolved. This was also the method that Sun Dazhu used. Later, because he was disheartened by Wang Lin, he didn't care about him anymore. The second method was to disperse all the spiritual qi in one's body and cultivate from the beginning. The reason why Sun Dazhu didn't choose this method was because at that time, Wang Lin's body was lacking in spiritual energy. Just a little bit of spiritual energy would immediately dissipate, and he simply couldn't meet the requirements of dispersing his cultivation. This process of dispersing his cultivation lasted for a day and a night. In the end, Wang Lin weakly fell on the bed. He was glad that he was able to keep his life. In the future, he must not casually drink dew. Feeling dizzy, his whole body became sleepy and he fell asleep in a daze. Chapter 23. Today was the third watch. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked out the window. It was dark outside. He got out of bed and moved his body for a long time. He didn't feel anything strange, so he took out the stone bowl from under the bed. He found that the liquid in the bowl was all gone. He picked up the bead and looked at it carefully. He was pleasantly surprised. The 10th cloud appeared in the empty place. Wang Lin immediately became spirited. He held the mysterious stone bead and looked at it. His eyes lit up and he quickly put it away. He went to the mountain spring to get a large bowl of water. After he returned to his room, he put the stone bead in the bowl and stirred it. After doing this, he drank a mouthful of spring water and tasted it for a long time. He found that it was no different than usual. He looked at the bead with doubt for a long time. He put it in his mouth and bit it. It was still hard. He squeezed out a drop of blood and the bead was still the same. After hesitating for a moment, he clenched his teeth, picked up the stone bowl, and smashed it on the stone bead. He thought that maybe after the 10th cloud appeared, there would be some changes inside. After a crashing sound, the stone bowl broke. Wang Lin's hands were numb, but the bead didn't show any signs of damage. He tried everything, but the bead still didn't show any changes after the 10th cloud. Wang Lin felt sad for wasting 2 gourds of dew. He angrily threw the bead aside. After a while, he picked it up unwillingly and carefully observed it. As he looked, he suddenly felt sleepy. He was startled. He just woke up, why was he still sleepy? He rubbed his eyes hard and continued to look at the bead. Slowly, sleepiness couldn't stop coming. The bead became more and more blurred in his eyes. Finally, Wang Lin's body tilted and fell to the ground. He was still holding the bead in his hand. He had a dream. In the dream, he came to a boundless place. There was no sun, moon, or stars, but there were countless luminous objects around. Although it was a dream, his mind was very clear. He even wondered why he was here in his dream. He didn't feel any discomfort here. He knew that he was dreaming, but he didn't know how to wake up. He had no choice but to walk around this boundless place for a long time. After an unknown period of time, when his body was exhausted, his surroundings suddenly trembled. Following that, he felt as though his body was being torn apart. With a miserable groan, he opened his eyes. Looking around, he was still in the room. Wang Lin took a deep breath and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He thought to himself that he had finally woken up from this strange dream. Suddenly, his expression became extremely strange. He stared at the mysterious bead in his hand. The dozen or so clouds on it had all disappeared. On its surface, a few small words appeared. This. Wang Lin was dumbfounded. He quickly picked it up and took a closer look. The handwriting was crooked and looked quite unfamiliar. He had loved reading since he was a child, so he knew many different kinds of words. After thinking for a long time, he compared the handwriting he remembered one by one and finally managed to guess some of the meaning. What's written on it is probably just a number. It doesn't have any actual meaning. Wang Lin held the bead and muttered to himself. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. He recalled the dream he had just had. Does it have something to do with this bead? Wang Lin thought for a while, then immediately lay down on the bed and closed his eyes to force himself to sleep. However, he was full of energy and couldn't fall asleep. His heart moved. He remembered that when he went to sleep, he naturally fell asleep looking at the bead. He stared at the bead without blinking. Gradually, drowsiness came over him. Unconsciously, he closed his eyes. The boundless space appeared again. Wang Lin stood there, thinking. This time, he didn't walk around. Instead, after thinking for a while, he kept jumping up and down, repeating the cycle. As time passed, he jumped higher and higher. Now, he could reach a height of less than half a foot. When his body was exhausted, the long-lost feeling of being torn appeared again. Then, he woke up. The moment he opened his eyes, he immediately got off the bed and jumped. His body jumped high, just like the training in the dream. Suddenly, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a look of disbelief. An expression of ecstasy appeared on his face. He took a few deep breaths and suppressed his excitement. He paced back and forth in the room. His expression changed rapidly. Sometimes he was deep in thought, sometimes he was distressed, and sometimes he was confused. Sweat was dripping down his forehead. If I can only train my body in the dream, then it's useless. I can also train in the real world. There's no need to do it in the dream. Wang Lin muttered to himself. No, this bead absorbed so much liquid filled with spiritual qi. It can't be useless. There must be some other function. There must be. But what is it? Wang Lin's eyes revealed a stubborn look. He forgot everything around him and immersed himself in deep thought. Could it be? His footsteps stopped. His mind seemed to have grasped a clue. He exclaimed, "Could it be time?" Thinking about this, he could no longer control his emotions. He was so excited that he wanted to shout out loud. He clenched his fists and stared at the bead while trembling. If it really has something to do with time, I, Taiju, will become an immortal no matter how bad my talent is. Wang Lin took a few deep breaths before he was able to return to normal. Without a word, he took out the oil lamp and filled it with oil. He held the bead in his hand as he silently calculated the time in his heart. About 4 hours later, the lamp that was filled with oil was extinguished. Wang Lin quickly filled it with oil. After lighting it, he took the bead and entered the dream again. This time, he didn't practice high jump. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the ground and silently counted the time. 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, 40 hours, 40 hours. His body felt like it was being torn apart. The moment Wang Lin opened his eyes, the oil lamp showed signs of going out. 10 times the time. The time in the dream is 10 times the time in reality. Wang Lin excitedly stood up and tightly held the mysterious bead. For the first time, he had complete confidence in cultivating. At this time, it was already late in the morning. Wang Lin put away his excitement and didn't immediately use the bead to cultivate. He knew that if he used the bead in the sect during the day, someone might accidentally find out. At that time, he would definitely not be able to keep it. Thus, he put the bead in his storage bag and pushed open the door to leave the room. Chapter 24. Today was the first night watch. After getting a lot of spring water from the mountain spring, he returned to his room and began to make spiritual spring water. At night, he locked the door and tied a rope to the door and the other end to his arm. This way, if the door was opened, he would immediately notice. After drinking a few mouthfuls of spring water, Wang Lin immediately held the bead and entered the dream space. In the boundless dream, Wang Lin sat cross-legged on the ground and breathed. When Wang Lin closed his eyes to cultivate, the glowing bodies around him emitted a gentle light. The moment it fell on him, it turned into spots of light and quietly entered his body. Wang Lin did not notice any of this. After about a day, the spring water's spiritual energy in his body dissipated. But this time, he clearly felt that his body was different. In the past, after drinking the medicinal soup, although there would be a warm flow in his body, as time passed, the spiritual energy would eventually dissipate. But this time was different. Although it still dissipated, there was more or less a trace left in his body. Although it was not much, it gave Wang Lin a lot of confidence. He guessed for a long time but could not figure out the problem. In the end, he attributed the doubt to the mysterious bead. Because he could not leave the dream on his own and could not replenish the spring water, Wang Lin tried to breathe for a long time and finally found that this dream was different from the outside world. In the outside world, when he breathed, although there was no feeling of spiritual energy crawling into his body, after a month, he found that every time he meditated, he would feel refreshed and his whole body was full of comfort. But here, after the spiritual energy of the spring water dissipated, he did not feel comfortable. Instead, after meditating for a long time, he would feel short of breath and chest tightness. After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin vaguely had a guess in his mind. All of this might be related to spiritual energy. In the dream space, there was no spiritual energy. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was right. He frowned and said to himself, "If only I could bring in the spring water from outside." Thinking of this, his heart suddenly moved. He looked down at himself and a puzzled expression appeared on his face. He was wearing the red clothes of an inner disciple. This made Wang Lin very puzzled. He quickly touched the storage bag in his clothes and found that it had disappeared. Clothes can appear in the dream space, but storage bags cannot. He thought for a while and decided to test what could be brought into the dream space and what could not. Time passed quickly. After 48 hours, the tearing feeling appeared again and Wang Lin woke up in reality. He still had a question in his mind. Why could he only last for 4 hours at a time? He poured the spring water into the gourd and carried it with him, preparing to enter the dream space. But this time, no matter how much he stared at the bead, he didn't feel sleepy at all. Wang Lin was shocked. He carefully pondered for a long time before suppressing the worry in his heart and closing his eyes to cultivate. Gradually, his breathing stabilized as he absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Even as it dissipated, it accumulated a bit. However, he was still a long way from the first level of qi condensation. Unfortunately, he still had a long way to go before reaching the first level of qi condensation. He breathed in the spring water and drank it from the gourd to keep his body full of spiritual energy. In addition, he held the stone bead again and again, trying to enter the dream space, but to no avail. Night fell and he opened his eyes. He could vaguely feel that there was a bit more spiritual energy in his body. Normally, he would be very excited. But now, he felt uneasy. He picked up the stone bead again and stared at it. Suddenly, he felt sleepy. Wang Lin's face lit up and he quickly looked away. After a while, the sleepiness disappeared. He stood up and rubbed his chin. He thought about the 4 times he had entered the dream space, and then realized a problem. The first 2 times he had entered the dream space were consecutive. The third time, he had observed the oil lamp for more than 4 hours before entering. As for the fourth time, it had been a day. From this, it could be deduced that there was a limit to entering the dream space. The safest method was to wait at least 4 hours before entering. After solving this problem, Wang Lin began to experiment with what he could bring into the dream space. He had prepared a lot of things for this experiment. First were the 3 gourds. One was the one with dew, one was empty, and the last was filled with spring water. He kicked the broken pieces of the stone bowl into his robe. He also took out some sweet potatoes, clothes, and other items from his bag. He wrapped them around himself, then stared at the stone bead and entered the dream space. Within the dream space, Wang Lin immediately inspected himself. The sweet potatoes, clothes, and broken pieces of the stone bowl were all there. The only things missing were the 3 gourds and the bag of holding. Puzzled, he suddenly remembered that there was no spiritual energy in the dream space. An idea came to him. Anything that could be brought into the dream space was ordinary. Or perhaps it could be said that these things had no spiritual energy at all. As for the 3 gourds and the bag of holding, these things more or less contained spiritual energy, so they could not be brought here. With a sigh, Wang Lin was distressed. If he could not bring the gourds in, he could only drink a few mouthfuls of spring water before entering the dream space. It was not enough for him to practice here. Thinking of this, his expression suddenly changed. It was as if he had grasped something important in his mind, but it was as if he had not grasped anything. This kind of illusion made him immediately ponder. He racked his brains and sorted out his thoughts one by one. After a long time, he looked happy and thought of the crux of the problem. The spring water was full of spiritual energy and could not be brought here, but after drinking it, it did not disappear here. That is to say, all of this was not absolute. As long as he found a way, he might be able to bring the spiritual energy spring water in. After waiting for 25 hours, Wang Lin immediately walked out of the room and wandered on the mountain path. After collecting a few wild gourds, he hurried back. He thought that the reason why the 3 gourds were not brought into the dream space before was because the gourds had been infused with dew for a long time, causing them to contain a certain amount of spiritual energy. Now that he had used the gourds he had just picked to store the spiritual energy spring water, perhaps he could trick the dream space and bring it in. 4 hours later, Wang Lin entered the dream space with 4 gourds hanging on his body. The moment he entered, he immediately checked his body and was surprised to find that all the gourds were still there. He opened it and saw that the spring water had not disappeared. After drinking a mouthful, it still contained spiritual energy. In his excitement, Wang Lin drank a big mouthful, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Every time the spiritual energy in his body dissipated, he would immediately drink a few mouthfuls of spring water. Gradually, strands of spiritual energy accumulated in his body, slowly changing his body and getting closer to the first level of qi condensation. The glowing objects around him once again turned into motes of light and silently entered his body. With Wang Lin's talent, without the mysterious bead and the spiritual energy liquid, it would have taken him several years to reach the first level of qi condensation. With the spirit melting grass, it would have taken him at least 30 to 50 years to succeed. Sun Daju's 1 month of medicinal soup had shortened this process. Wang Lin had unintentionally scattered his cultivation and got rid of the spirit melting grass. Even so, it would have taken him about 10 years to finish cultivating. But now, Wang Lin did not lack spiritual energy and had 10 times the time in the dream space. The first level of qi condensation was within reach. Chapter 25. Second night. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. 2 months later, Wang Lin was cultivating in his dream space with his eyes closed. In these 2 months, he had thoroughly studied the mysterious bead. He could enter the bead 3 times a day, and each time he entered it for more than 40 hours. Added together, it was equivalent to 6 days. In the real world, these 2 months were actually a year of cultivation. Cultivation was an extremely boring thing. Before, Wang Lin didn't feel this, but during these days, he deeply experienced it. With the help of the spring water, he didn't even need to eat. All he did was meditate and cultivate, repeating the 1 long 3 short method to absorb the spiritual energy from the spring water. If it wasn't for his strong will and his parents' expectant eyes, he probably wouldn't have been able to endure this boring cultivation. Especially when he thought about how Wang Zhuo reached the first level in 3 months, Wang Lin felt a strong sense of unwillingness. He almost never left his room and desperately immersed himself in cultivation. In the Hengyu sect, Wang Lin was a joke. Although there were many people who were jealous of him, very few paid attention to him. Sun Dazhu even forgot about this disciple. Even when he thought about him, he would get angry and force himself to filter Wang Lin out of his mind. Because of this, as well as Wang Lin's precautions, every time he was about to fall asleep and enter the dream space, he would immediately put the bead away. Therefore, these 2 months were peaceful and no one discovered Wang Lin's mysterious bead. In these 2 months, the amount of spring water Wang Lin drank was incalculable. Basically, whenever he felt that his body was lacking spiritual energy, he would immediately drink a few mouthfuls. If Sun Dazhu knew about this, he would definitely go crazy and slap this disciple to death. In the entire cultivation world of the state of Zhao, there were very few cultivators like Wang Lin who could eat spring water that was rich with spiritual qi every day. Only some of the old monsters in the sects could enjoy such a privilege. They could control the cave with the densest spiritual qi in the entire mountain peak and achieve the effect of spiritual qi spring water. Spiritual qi was very important in the eyes of cultivators. The state of Zhao was not a land of spiritual qi. Although it was enough to nourish a few sects, if someone knew that Wang Lin cultivated in this way, they would be heartbroken like his master. If this spring water was used to concoct pills, it would definitely increase the success rate of the concoction. One must know that while concocting pills, the ingredients were of utmost importance, but if it was supplemented by something filled with spiritual energy, it would have a miraculous effect. With the support of the almost endless spiritual energy, the spiritual energy in Wang Lin's body was increasing. On this day, Wang Lin was cultivating in the dream space. He could clearly feel the spiritual energy in his body flowing through his body. As he breathed, 2 white dragons came out of his mouth and nose. The feeling of ants crawling on his body slowly surged from inside and outside his body, like a tide sweeping through every part of his body. Drops of black matter, emitting an unpleasant smell, were discharged from his sweat pores. Soon, his clothes were soaked, but Wang Lin didn't notice it at all. He was immersed in a wonderful feeling. He could clearly see the spring water in his body breaking down and the spiritual energy slowly changing the structure of his body. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Lin opened his eyes. A bright light that had never been seen before flashed in his eyes. His mind was clear, and his heart was like a calm lake without any ripples. All the experiences of his youth flashed through his mind. His father's loving gaze when he was learning to speak, his mother's caring words when he was studying late at night, his parents' expectant expressions when he entered the Hengyu sect, his relatives' mocking faces, the villagers' envious expressions, and so on. He calmly looked at them all as if they were strangers. After a long time, he let out a deep breath. His heart was filled with bitterness. The moment he stepped into the first level of qi condensation, he had a glimmer of enlightenment. According to the 3 volumes of qi condensation, the first level of qi condensation was like a door. Those who could open it would enter the ranks of cultivators. From then on, they would be cut off from the mortal world and rid of their obsessions. Everyone experienced this process when they reached the first level of qi condensation. Wang Lin didn't know how it was for other people, but he knew that he could cut off all the mundane things, but he couldn't cut off his parents' love. With a light sigh, Wang Lin dusted off his clothes and stood up. His eyes lit up as he looked around. He could already feel the difference in his dream space. For example, the glowing bodies around him. Before, he couldn't see anything strange, but now he could see that there was spiritual energy flowing within them. Although he couldn't see any specific changes, compared to before, he was like a blind man who had regained his sight. As he observed, he felt a tearing sensation. This time it was much lighter. Although it was still painful, it didn't cause him to break out in a cold sweat. In the real world, Wang Lin opened his eyes. He sat on the bed and pondered for a while. He immediately picked up the gourd and opened it. Slivers of spiritual energy slowly floated out of the gourd. The spiritual energy inside was very rich. He smiled. After reaching the first level of qi condensation, he could already feel the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Taking a deep breath, Wang Lin suddenly realized that his entire body was sticky. He looked down and laughed. The 3 volumes of qi condensation said that anyone who broke through to the first level would expel large amounts of impurities from their body. This was a necessary step in transforming the body. Wang Lin pushed open the door. It was already afternoon outside. His footsteps were light as he quickly walked out of the east door. He found a spot next to the spring and took off his clothes to wash them. The black impurities were very greasy, and it took him a long time to wash them clean. After washing, he lay down on a rock and looked up at the sky. In his mind, he thought about an immortal technique recorded in the 3 volumes of qi condensation. It described in detail an immortal technique called attraction technique. It was one of the most basic techniques and could be used by anyone who reached the first level of qi condensation. After all, the Hengyu sect had unified the country of Zhao 500 years ago. Although it had declined, it still had a large number of cultivation techniques. The principle was that all inner disciples could go to the scripture pavilion to choose, but the elders usually advised them to choose the sword cultivation section. A sword cultivator placed all their cultivation on a flying sword. Although it was difficult to cultivate in the later stages, it was very powerful in the early stages and easy to control. This attraction technique was the basic immortal technique used to control flying sword. Apart from the attraction technique, there were 2 other techniques recorded in the 3 volumes of qi condensation. One was fireball and the other was earth splitting. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.